Welcome everybody to the official relaunch of the Hippy Dippy Roundtable after a 2-year hiatus. So I could be on the ground covering the war in Ukraine. I'm still gonna continue to do that, of course, but now I'm going to host these bi-monthly in order to, well, actually every month, in order to, add some more conversation with the election right around the corner. I think the format has a lot of interest now. Piers Morgan is grabbing the format by the horns and dragging it around on Talk TV. And so I'm interested to get back into the game, and these fine people are here to get back into the game with me. And today they're going to be debating why America is so divided and how we mend those divides. I thought of this topic right after the Trump assassination, and while that has gotten out of the news, well, I guess pretty quickly with how fast the news has developed, the divides are still there. Division is still a big issue in the United States. And so I'm going to go around.
And so naturally you invited a Canadian and a guy from the UK.
Absolutely. We need foreigners to help out for their foreign perspectives. Thank you for being our token foreigners. Now, we're going to debate these issues, but first, I want to make sure we go around and have everybody introduce themselves, brief, 30 seconds, and then we'll move into introductions, and then it will be a general free-for-all. But please do bear in mind that do not barrel over people. If you do, I will mute you, and I don't hold it against personally anyone, but, I'm a law and order guy. I'm, blue line when it comes to moderation, 100%, and I want you guys to make sure that we have a good debate environment where nobody gets boxed out, and, keep it short and punchy is my only piece of advice today, because if you don't, you're going to ramble, and then you'll take everybody else's time. Okay, you guys ready? Fantastic. So we're going to start with Adam Mockler. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Adam Mockler. I work for a company called Midas Touch, one of the largest liberal organizations. I do on the ground stuff. I've been to a lot of MAGA rallies. I'm excited to chat with you guys. Thanks for hosting this, Dylan. And I hope we can have a cool chat about this and it's not too heated. But yeah.
Absolutely. Now I'm going to throw it over to Hake.
Hey guys, I'm James Hake, host of TheHakeReport, live Monday through Friday. And I take your calls, so feel free to call in. I'm on Jesse Lee Peterson's network.
Fantastic. I'm going to now throw it over to JebTan.
JebTan, small government conservative, pretty much just online for the sake of doing debate panels because I'm a degenerate.
Fantastic. Aren't we all? LCTRfan.
Thank you. I'm LCTRfan. I've been doing conservative politics on Twitch since November 2013. I'm a guest host on Montana's leading statewide AM talk radio show, Montana Talks. I'm a commercial litigation attorney. I'm a partner at a full-service law firm, and I love debating politics and keeping everybody informed of the truth. And that's why we're here. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Dylan.
Happy to have you back, and happy for you to be unbanned on Twitch. We now throw it over to Lonerbox.
Hey, I'm lonerbox. I'm a Scottish YouTuber. I make videos talking about politics. My country is actually quite chill and politically sane, so I like interfering with other countries instead.
Fantastic. You're really good at that, actually. Now I'm going to throw that over to PresidentSunday.
Hi, I'm PresidentSunday. You can find me on YouTube under that name, and everything Lonerbox said about the UK is a lie.
Okay, and now we're going to throw it over to Crenshaw.
My name is RashadCrenshaw. I'm a liberal commentator, and I'm just happy to be here and debate with you guys.
Fantastic. First time on a Hippy Dippy, and happy to have you here. We're going to throw it over to More Perfect Union.
Yeah, no, check it out. Thank you so much for the invite. I appreciate being able to be the backup fill-in for whoever didn't show up. I appreciate it. Dylan, I've done a lot of these things with you guys, with you over the years. Conservative, constitutional conservative podcaster, the More Perfect Union on Twitch and a variety of other places. I'm currently a homeless vet. I'm a vet, a United States Veteran Submarine Service. I'm currently homeless because I'm going through a little bit of a situation. That's why I'm talking to you live from my pickup truck. And I'm looking forward very much to talking about this because while I understand that political parties can have their differences, I think the divide is abnormally wider than it has ever been. And I think it's a danger to the safety of the Republic of the United States. And I would love to see somebody on the left side of this argument talk about ways that we can bring her back closer to the center.
Okay. Well, I think that was almost an intro, too. But we're now going to do intros into the topic. And we're going to have 1 minute to 2 minutes. Try to keep it short and snappy and be considerate of the time that we are on a schedule. And there are a lot of you. And so we're going to start.
Pick me first, and then I will just pass because I essentially did my intro.
Sure. Okay. There you go. Oh, I thought you were gonna go.
Well, he
I
said
thought you were gonna
he said
finish.
he's passing.
Oh, you're
Yeah,
passing.
you should be
yeah,
required to sing us a song.
Okay.
Yeah. Next.
Okay, fantastic. Then we'll just go to Crenshaw.
Oh shit. Yeah, the right's more divisive. The end.
Okay, fair enough. Now we're gonna go over to President Sunday.
Oh, well, I wrote a whole thing, and now it looks stupid because I put effort into this. Okay, I think that the question posed to this panel contains a false premise that our political dividedness is a problem to be solved. I disagree. And while talking points like we need to heal the divisions in this country or we need to bring our country together are almost ubiquitous, they onboard an assumption that I think is not only wrong, but masks the real problem behind a more superficial one. And that assumption is that we are more divided than ever before. I don't think we are. In fact, not only do I think we have never been less divided, that this is so is itself the cause of the intensification of political hatred that I think motivates the question of dividedness in the first place. It is because we are so united on what the problems are, the stakes, the timelines, and the solutions available to us that everything so quickly boils down to a zero-sum game in which there is no air for compromise, even between those who can only watch and comment. Let them be cakes is no longer a viable answer even for those with power. The whole world is at stake for all of us. Petty alliances based on class, culture, religion, etc. have increasingly little solidity to them compared to the existential question of who's going to be elected to hold the questions of whether basic freedoms, equality, and even the habitability of our planet will be preserved or destroyed in their hands, and this is so for both the right and the left. And this makes us crazy, especially for those of us like on this panel, when we take a wage and build a reputation based upon whether people view us as allies in the bigger struggle or not. So that we have very strong incentives to be obstinate and to not even let ourselves treat each other reasonably. I'm sure some of us remember Rob Knorr telling us how the fictitious General Alden's plan for pulling out the troops could have saved lives. This isn't because Rob is stupid, although he is also this. This is because Rob is invested. This is a funny example, but this kind of thing happens all the time in more subtle ways. And some, far from dividedness being a problem, what we are really entrapped by is our unity, the totalizing attitude it engenders, and whether conceived in terms of party, nation, class, race, etc., how it commits us all addictively to a death spiral in which no real communication or compromise can be risked. Thank you.
Okay, just on the 2-minute mark, basically. Now we're going to throw it over to lonerbox.
I don't personally think divisions are inherently a bad thing. I'd imagine if you live in a democracy, or in this case, a constitutional federal republic, divisions are probably a good thing. It's good to disagree on things, and that helps people to hone their positions and find ultimately like somewhere that actually yields the best results for most of society. So I think the problem is what you have now is more like polarization, where you have, with no help from the internet, groups able to have their very comforting worldviews that they can just kind of give them little prescriptions and how to, and like immediate and short answers to every single issue in the world, so that you can just, basically what you're going to think about any particular issue before you've even started looking into it. And then you just work backwards and find all the information from whatever camp you're in that helps reinforce that belief that you were always going to have anyway, based on which camp you've chosen to be in. I would say both sides are to blame for this in a little bit and when it comes to extremes, but the fact is the Democrats, for the most part, kept their crazies out. They have mostly rejected the insane wishes of the very, very far left in America, whereas the Republican Party is completely taken over by the likes of Donald Trump. Still, you have 70% of Republicans who think the last election was stolen. Divisiveness is that people complain about is generally their fault. Yeah.
Okay,
Wishes like don't kill kids.
we're gonna throw it over to LCTRfan.
I think the obvious answer to why we're more divided now is because society has changed, and the question is, how has society changed over time? And I think the obvious answer to how society has changed, and you can see this in all the data, is less and less people are in traditional families, less and less people go to church on Sundays, less and less people are involved in community organizations. And a lot of societies change like that over time. As societies get more mature and as societies get more wealthy, people naturally turn away from God, turn away from Jesus Christ, and turn away from a true spiritual understanding of the world, and start to replace that with communism, with Nazism, all these other ideologies. And what we've seen in the United States and around the world with the global left going hardcore atheist and then trying to replace their spiritual emptiness and trying to get spiritual fulfillment from things like global warming, trying to stop man-made global warming. And then it leads to these extreme positions from the left, and you're seeing it from the Democrats in the United States. They take these hardcore, radical, extreme positions, especially like, putting men and women's sports or transgender issues, all these sorts of things that are causing a lot of us that are basically still traditional believers that to be like, whoa, this is absolutely insane. And that's what's causing the division.
He got it.
Okay, we're gonna throw it over now to JebTan.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Loner and President Sunday on that core point of political divisions aren't our problem. Political divisions are good. Everybody, we should have a divided political atmosphere to avoid, pushing this giant ship that is the United States too quickly in one direction. Before we can, make up for generational gaps in belief systems. And we don't want to push the Overton window too much based on one generation when the next generation might not agree. The issue is personal divides. And I think there is a fundamental profit motive in the media to divide on both sides. I think they have perfected systems through social media and traditional media even to get people to tune in by saying the other side is going to destroy the world. They're going to do it immediately. And if they get power for even a second, the world is going to get destroyed. Luckily for us, we've had 2 terms in the past 8 years, one from each party. Neither of them destroyed the world. Both of them, under Trump, people's lives were generally good. Economy was generally good. Under Biden, the economy sucked mostly because of COVID. And though I do have qualms with how Biden dealt with it, it recovered pretty okay. One of the issues is the reason why I resent the idea that it's just the GOP causing the personal division all the time is because we had 8 years of the GOP trying to work against this profit motive. We had McCain and Romney both attacking birthers in their own party, attacking people who wanted to do this sort of alarmism. And they lost their elections, while guys like Barack Obama and Joe Biden saying things like Mitt Romney wants to put black people back in chains, completely unfounded, they won their elections. And so we had a natural snapback of the GOP realizing there is a game being played that if we refuse to play, we are going to lose every election and we're going to lose it powerfully. And so Trump came in and went whole hog in the wrong direction, which was acquiescing to the poisonous game we're playing. And the Democrats have now clapped back and are doing the same thing. And so we just have this increasing personal divide, not political divide, caused by that profit motive.
Okay, now we're going to throw it over to Hake. Also, Jeb, your camera is frozen in a very unflattering angle. You probably get rid of that.
Yeah, I'll just switch off split cam. Thank you.
I believe in you. I believe in you, Jeb. You'll do good. Okay, throwing it over to Hake.
Thank you. I think the reason that we are so divided is because we've become destructively divided, is because we've become kind of a bunch of women. And shout out to the ladies, shout out to the women.
Thank you.
We
Hake.
love the women, but both the conservatives and the liberals are, like a lot of you guys said, hating one another, unfoundedly thinking that they're better than each other. Trump should be a non-controversial figure. Like, everything he says, perfectly reasonable, but he rightly pointed out that there's a lot of anger in this country. And that's really has no place, because anger is what starts violence. Anger is what starts believing crazy things. It's like when you break up with like a girlfriend or a wife, or she's mad at you. There's no reasoning with her. She won't believe you, even when you're being perfectly honest, and it's clear to everybody outside that you're being honest. There is this fake unity of so-called civil rights that both sides kind of acquiesced to. Hate crimes legislation, all these things were very divisive in the pretense of bringing people together. And I agree with LCTRfan that we got spoiled. And when you get spoiled, you tend to forget God. And I think even the Christians have forgotten God. So it's a mess.
I'm going to throw it over to Adam Mockler to wrap up the intros.
Yeah, so I think you can draw a direct line from Donald Trump's entry into American politics to the division we see today. And I think it was only amplified by social media. We could probably all agree on the social media piece. I don't know about that. But when it comes to Donald Trump, in 2012, his claim to fame in American politics was saying that Barack Obama wasn't born in America. He convinced a large portion of the country Obama wasn't born in America. A decade later, he's boosting Laura Loomer posts about Kamala Harris's birth certificate. But we can go to 2016. Donald Trump had the RNC chanting, "Lock her up." Michael Flynn comes on stage. Michael Flynn leads a "Lock her up" chant. And if conservatives in here are going to try to claim that Donald Trump never said "lock her up," I have the receipt, so I'd be careful with that one. Next, Donald Trump, everything he says is completely divisive. And you compare his "Lock her up" chants to Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. They had a rally a few weeks ago where the chant started yelling, "Lock him up, lock him up." Kamala Harris said verbatim, "We're going to let the courts handle that." Our job is to beat him in November. So what's the difference between a candidate who's leading the top of the ticket, who says all of the courts are rigged, all of the elections are rigged, the judge is rigged, the judge's daughter, Judge Merchan's daughter is rigged, versus the person who says we're going to let the courts handle that. And Tim Walz, we can look up the video, when the crowd started chanting lock her up, Tim Walz calms the crowd down and says we don't do that. So yeah. The idea that the two parties also, Hake says that everything that Donald Trump says is reasonable. Do you think Obama was not born in America?
Okay, now with that intro section done, we're gonna
think you're gonna like his answer.
We're gonna open it up to general area.
I love how this is a panel on what is the cause of the divisions in America, and half the panel, I think 3/4 of the panel is just like fuck the other party. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's my thing. So I want to go after that a little bit too on both sides. So the idea that Kamala Harris has been just like anti-lock 'em up as a narrative as a whole, it's sort of the issue I have with Democrats acting like Democrats have been so civil this whole time. They're just a little more covert in their lies. Sure, she clapped down lock him up in that speech, but in the same speech she said, I know Trump's type, when she's talking about scammers, fraudsters, criminals, and things like that. She clearly wants him to be locked up and made several statements aligning with the idea that he deserves to be locked up because he's a criminal. But then just when they say to lock him up, she's like, let's let the courts handle that. She clearly is making a stance that she thinks he should be locked up, but she's more covert about it, which is fair. That is good.
That's right. Do you disagree that Trump is a criminal?
Yeah.
No, but what I'm no, but I also
wait. We gotta let him finish.
I was being asked. But then I also have an issue on the other side with Hake. Everything Trump says is reasonable. Even when he said he became a Republican because he thinks Republicans are so fucking stupid that they would vote for him no matter what. You think everything Trump has said is reasonable. This is the problem, is I don't think you're bought into those ideas politically. I think you're bought into those ideas because, as PresidentSunday said, there's an environment that has incentivized you to say either everything Trump has said is reasonable, or on the other side, everything Kamala has ever said is reasonable, and she's never made any similar mistakes to Trump, and she's a completely unrecognizable. It's apples to bowling balls when you're comparing.
Hold on. But JebTan, let's be honest here. Donald Trump's criminality is possibly nation-ending. Like when we talk about Kamala Harris speaking about how much of a criminal Trump is. Oh, yes. If January 6th was successful, what the fuck do you think would have happened?
What do you mean? What is your term of successful? Because
if January 6th was successful, if those slates of electors were illegally overturned, no. If Trump overturned the election, what do you think the United States, anyone who is constitutionally loyal, what do you think the solution would have had to be to oust an illegal president? Would that not be damn near nation ending?
No, it would be suing. The Supreme Court would evaluate which slate of electors was legal. They would find that the original slate of electors was legal, and it wouldn't have ended the nation.
Really? Is the Supreme Court is unbelievably?
Give us a moment. I just want to make sure we have one at a time because we have 4 people trying to talk. Yeah. Okay, so I saw there was a few people trying to jump on this. So I want JebTan. You just said what you think would happen, and so Crenshaw. I want to have you throw that question at MPU because it looks like he wanted to respond to that. Adam and Loner, I saw you wanted to talk, so I'll throw it to you after, okay?
All right, cool. Am I talking or MPU?
Yeah, MPU.
I think you're asking MPU something.
MPU, do you want to answer that question? I saw you wanted to respond to it.
Yeah, I mean, the point of fact is that there is a constitutional question as to whether or not under the existing law that Mike Pence had any responsibility whatsoever to declare that slates of electors that were brought by certain states where there were questions about the legality of the way the vote was conducted, particularly Wisconsin with their democracy in the park, the way they collected ballots, the way that Georgia allowed people to like ballot harvest and stuff ballot boxes, and way Michigan, when Michigan certified their slate of electors without actually being able to balance the ballot books. That's 100%. 72% of the precincts in Michigan could not certify that their ballots were actually balanced. Okay?
Hold on.
No, wait a second, because I know. Let me finish, and then I'll let you come back.
Okay, wait. MPU, could you wrap it up in 20 seconds though, because that's a lot to respond to. So I want to make sure that he can, there's not too much.
So the basic tenet was that if a vice president under the current law or the law that existed in 2020, it's been changed since, if the vice president thought that the elector certificates were not in proper form, he could have, under the law, he could have made an argument to say, no, we're not gonna certify that. And they didn't choose to do that.
Hold on.
Doghouse here. What's doing here? I want to throw this over to back to Crenshaw. I don't know why he got in here. Crenshaw, and after Crenshaw, we're gonna go to Adam.
Yeah, okay. So first and foremost, almost literally every single case that Trump and his team made about stolen elections, XYZ ballots, all of them were proven to be false, particularly with the video in Georgia. That video was spliced, and I can give you the link. I can give you the link. I don't mind. I can give you the link of the video in which Giuliani and them literally spliced the video. But if you actually watch the video, that box was not automatically, it wasn't already under the table. It was a box of ballots they had counted that day, and it put in the box under the table that had no box under it from the beginning of the day. Everything is on video. There is absolutely no secret ballot as it pertains to Georgia, period. I don't know why you guys are believing this, especially given the fact that Giuliani literally sat there and said, yeah, not gonna lie, I did make up that story about, those election workers stealing the election. I did make that up, but it was my First Amendment right to make up that story. And sure, I ruined two people's lives, but First Amendment.
Okay, MPU, you can respond quickly, and then we got to throw it to Adam because other people want to talk.
And then can I get in there, Dylan? Can I get in
I'm
there?
learning so much about the causes of division in America.
Okay, but we got to move. That's why I want to throw it to Adam because we got to move on.
I'll say this one thing with respect to the cases. 62 cases were brought forward. 60 were dismissed for the concept of latches. Does anybody on this panel besides me and LCTRfan understand what latches means? The cases
do you also acknowledge that even the ones do you also acknowledge
the cases were never heard on the merits?
Do you also acknowledge that although that was the reason they were just hang on.
Courts oftentimes take a position that they don't want to handle a thing because it's a political hot potato.
All the courts.
Wait.
More perfect.
Yeah,
that's not what latches means.
Loner wants to respond very. Wait.
No.
Latches says that you cannot bring.
Okay. One second. Okay, we're gonna do this quickly. We're gonna go Adam, then Loner. Okay, because there's too many people to talk. Okay, Adam.
I was going to respond to something 4 topics ago. If Lonerbox wants to wrap up the election fraud thing, I can bring it back to division.
Okay, so Loner, you can talk to MPU.
Okay, yeah, MPU, you're not acknowledging that even the cases that were dismissed on latches were also, they reviewed the evidence as well. I don't know why you're leaving that part out. There were several cases, much more than 4 or whatever that you mentioned, that were also assessed on the merits, and not 2, like at least fucking 7. So I don't know where you're getting that from. Also, okay, you're lying, okay. Also, even Giuliani admitted that he was lying. He said that it was just his First Amendment right to do so. Even Fox News had to settle the Dominion case for the same reason. Jeb, I don't know why.
Exactly what the latches throwouts were for, which is that one party was unreasonably pushing cases and delaying cases in order to attack the other party and make it harder for the other party. That's the reason they got dismissed on latches, not just because it's a political hot potato, but because even Giuliani, Steve Bannon, they admitted behind closed doors that they were putting through cases they knew were going to fail in order to sow distrust in the election. That is what the latches doctrine is for. It is so that you don't allow a party to just recreationally attack and sue and push lawsuits just to delay a vote, just to delay a count.
Now what? Now I hate to crush this, but the problem is this entire topic we're talking about right now is the main event of tonight. And so if we just have this as also the main event, my God.
Yeah, I got something else.
I can bring it back.
I know we got So Adam Mockler has been waiting very patiently, and so I'm going to throw it to Adam. I know who else is waiting. I got a mental note, lecture, and I think Hake is waiting too.
Yeah, so JebTan, I'm bringing it back like 10 minutes here. I totally disagree that Kamala Harris shooting down the lock him up chance are basically equivalent to Donald Trump basically allowing the chance to happen. Also saying it himself. Maybe we should lock her up. And the idea that the idea that Kamala Harris saying something to the effect of, I know Donald Trump's type, I've beat him before. I think that's more of her saying, I beat him in elections before. He's a cheater. We can see, like, if you disagree with any of this stuff, do you really think he's not a cheater? He's not a criminal. So I'm just to bring it back, I totally disagree that Kamala Harris shooting down the chance is the same as Donald Trump emboldening the chance. Can you see the difference there?
Can I jump in real quick? Yeah, so the issue is, and the issue lies in your recollection of the speech. You left out the parts where she describes that he is a criminal, deserving of being locked up. When she says, I know his type, she's not saying I've beaten him
Wait,
before.
did she say he's deserving of being locked up?
Yeah, well, Yes, she's saying, as a prosecutor, I know Donald Trump's type. She is literally saying, I prosecuted and
maybe she knows the type of guy that has 34 indictments. She knows the type of dude that has 34 indictments, and he's not fit to be president.
Just admit that she thinks he should be locked up because she thinks he's a criminal.
But how is it? But it's not divisive for her to say that.
Can you admit that Kamala Harris will never explicitly say lock him up in the same way Donald Trump would?
If it's not divisive, why did Adam feel the need to leave that out and claim that she doesn't want him locked up? Because it doesn't. Hey, look, it doesn't really matter what he says because the reality of the situation is like we just established.
One second. If you're both talking at the same time, I can't hear anything. I want Crenshaw to respond, and then I want to throw it over to Hake because he's been waiting very patiently the whole time to say nothing. Oh, actually, LCTRfan, sorry. Then Hake.
The reason why I'm saying it's not divisive is because if you look at the level back, I don't want to make it a J6 debate again, but the point of the matter is the level of crime Trump committed is democracy ending, capable of ending democracy. Calling him a criminal and drawing a line in the sand and saying this motherfucker is a criminal, this guy is capable of ending democracy, this guy needs to be locked up. When the line is drawn this far and you guys are grading him on such a crazy curve, somebody has to say something and demand actual rule of law. That's not divisiveness. That's taking a stand where it needs to be made.
Okay, I'm glad we admitted Kamala also said she wanted Donald Trump locked up. I'm glad we've gotten there. You can
yes. The Constitution oath breakers should be locked up.
So
wow.
I do. Okay, quickly, Adam. I know Adam was trying to respond as well since it was his question. So I want to give him 15 seconds before we threw it to lecture, who I know is going to have some things to say. If you had anything you wanted to say, because you were trying to interact with Jeb as well.
Sorry, can I just read this quote real quick?
Sure, if you want to read a quote.
I know Donald Trump's type. This is what Kamala Harris was saying. In these roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds. Perpetrators who abused women. And tell me which one he didn't do. Perpetrators who abused women, fraudsters who ripped off consumers, cheaters who broke the rules for their own game. So hear me when I say I know Donald Trump's type. Like, where is she saying, can you be as good faith as possible? There's a difference between saying something like that versus lock her up and emboldening your crowd to chant lock her up. You don't see any difference between those two things.
No, so one is, yeah, I agree there's a difference.
It's a question for JebTan, and then we got to go to lecture. I'm sorry, MPU.
I agree there's a difference, and I described the difference. I think in their divisiveness, Democrats are more covert. Donald Trump outright says, I want Hillary Clinton locked up, and that is bad, and you should not do that. Kamala covertly says, I want my opponent locked up. That is
so Republicans are more openly divisive.
No,
that's your stance. Republicans are more openly divisive.
No.
Over to
Democrats are openly divisive.
The other side.
Stop.
I
will. I'm going to mass mute. I'm mass muting.
Thank you, Dylan. All right, thank you, Dylan. Appreciate that. I gotta say, lonerbox and Adam are like living on completely different planets, pushing false information because they don't even know that what they believe is false. Lonerbox saying that the Democrat Party hasn't gone radical and the Republican Party has is just demonstrably false. Pew Global Research has done research on this where they've proven that's false. Adam Laxalt, or Adam Mockler, sorry, I got your name wrong, but you're clearly like just a TDS guy. I don't know if you've been diagnosed.
Hey man, earlier you said something about,
or if you actually like believe what you had, or if you just don't know the history of where the device began, because it actually began in 2008 when Barack Obama first started. Thank you. It actually went back to 2008 when Barack Obama's 2008 campaign. I know you may not have been around for that, but that's exactly what it was. And you guys talking about like somebody actually locking up their political opponent are like living on a completely different planet. Donald Trump actually had the opportunity to prosecute Hillary Clinton. That was a closed and shut case. Donald Trump made the decision not to prosecute Hillary Clinton in an incredible act of deference to our process and everything else. And then you guys are talking about, will or will not Kamala Harris try to lock up her political opponents and abuse she's already doing it. She's a part of this exact administration that's doing this against Donald Trump right now, has filed all these frivolous lawsuits. And you guys claiming that Trump is a criminal over January 6th, recognize he's never been convicted of any crime over January 6th. So you're all full of crap.
Well, hold on.
Wait. I'm sorry, Mr. Crenshaw. I threw it over. I promised Adam.
Not been convicted of any crime.
Adam,
that doesn't mean anything.
No, LCTRfan keeps trying to.
I'm sorry, MPU. Sorry,
negative, Crenshaw.
Adam.
LCTRfan keeps trying to paint Democrats as all these radicals. Lonerbox touched on it, but like 70% of Republicans in Congress think the election was stolen. Do you think Kamala Harris is a communist LCTRfan? Like, do you think most sitting Democrats are communists? Because you named her, you used the word communist
when you propose price controls, that's a communist policy. Price controls are a communist policy.
Wait, do you think Biden is a capitalist or communist?
I don't think Biden
I think Biden
is.
I think Biden's like Bill Clinton. Like he doesn't really have true beliefs deep
down. So when you have LCTRfans sitting here going, the other side, they're full of communists. Do you think like Democrats are groomers too? Are you going to call us communists and groomers and then say we're the ones being divisive?
I think the left has given itself over to sexual perversion. Absolutely.
Okay, so we're the divisive ones, and you're going to call it just doesn't make sense. This is
like
anybody watching.
But if we were communists, you're cool with that.
That was no big deal.
Okay, we're gonna have Lonerbox respond, then Hake, and then President Sunday. Okay.
I was going to ask LCTRfan if he thinks like most American states are communist because they have like a lot of American states have laws against price gouging. I also want to correct myself. Actually, I misinformation.
No, they don't. You don't know what you're talking about. No, they don't.
It was actually 30 cases.
That's a lie.
It was actually 30 cases that were thrown out after the merits were assessed as well. As for the Hillary comparison, you have to understand the difference is that Hillary wasn't even indicted at the end. So she didn't plead the fifth once throughout all those fucking Benghazi hearings. Trump is a criminal.
Destroyed hardware.
He never.
She
Donald
obstructed justice.
Donald Trump made the decision not to
obstructed justice in a way that says I'm going to destroy the data on devices and that I'm going to use physical means to physically destroy devices.
You thought it was divisive.
Donald Trump graciously didn't.
Obstructed justice. After she was told that you need to preserve all this stuff because there's a thing going on, she literally destroyed or caused to be destroyed physical and digital evidence of her malfeasance. She had no right as Secretary of State to have a non-secure server and pass thousands upon thousands of emails across it that included top secret.
Hold on, fact check. Fact check.
But it's got to be like.
Hey, there is no.
Like, hold on.
I'm gonna fact check.
There is a dispute here. There is a dispute here.
Okay,
there absolutely is a dispute. A simple Google search shows that the emails were defeated months before the subpoena. Deleted months before the subpoena.
Was allowing the Harris campaign.
Guys, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to shut this down. I'm sorry to shut this down. I gotta shut it. You gotta let. Okay, goodbye. So we gotta keep moving because other people haven't been talking. Like President Sunday and Hake haven't said literally basically anything. So I'm going to throw it over to Hake.
All right. So to Adam's point about most Republicans think that the election is stolen in Congress, which I completely disavow for the sake of all the channels and because I don't know. I don't know what the details are. And they say that there's no way of knowing. They made it so there's no way of knowing. But I think it was the most secure in history, like the government tells us to believe. But that just shows that the Republicans are being peaceful even while believing all that stuff. And is Biden a capitalist or communist? He's a commie capitalist. He's just in bed with. He's been in the government forever, and he's in bed with the capitalists.
Define that.
Define it. It's the government and the big businesses in bed with one another against the people.
Hey, do you think Obama was born in America?
Let me just finish. Oh yeah, about the Obama thing. I'm not sure. I think he was probably based on Bill O'Reilly's claims. They looked into it. He was born in Hawaii, and of course, for the sake of the channels, I think
Bill O'Reilly.
But he has Hussein in his name, man. Sorry, go on.
But it's interesting that both Trump and our greatest sheriff, Joe Arpaio, looked into it and found questionable stuff there. I think Obama may have just been trolling us. I think it's just a joke. Nobody really cares about it, except for boomers who care about, right and wrong and stuff, and the fake people who believe in like the racism stuff. But Obama divided the country racially more than anybody. LCTRfan pointed that out. He was bringing Black Lives Matter to the White House, and pre Obama, we were more racially united than after Obama, and that was predicted by people like Jesse Lee Peterson. And Trump, it's funny because Trump is the law and order candidate. And they're trying to act like he's this criminal.
Wait. I'm Crenshaw. I'm sorry. I'm the law and order man. I'm sorry. President Sunday hasn't said anything basically the whole time, and I think that that entire sentence I think is just up Sunday's alley. So I wanted Sunday.
Nice.
I haven't been talking over everybody else. It's all good. But I am curious though if anybody else if we go around the panel and we could say what the actual initial prompt was and give an example of when we've actually addressed it in the past, however long we've been doing this for. Also, on that point,
the question was over divisiveness, and Trump is the one who is like responsible for most of the.
I hate to fucking say it. Lonerbox is the only one who's actually providing an answer to the fucking question.
No, I mean I've answered the question in my opening statement. I don't think Trump was a source. He might be the source right now, but I don't think if we're talking about sources, we just go to the most recent. I think the reason Trump existed in the first place was because you had very milquetoast, polite, very respectful conservative politicians playing the wrong game and losing elections because they were clapping down hysteria in their parties while Obama was silent when his vice president was saying that his opponent wanted to put black people back in chains, that he probably had, I forget the random things that their media outlets were saying, starting it. Yeah, he was like doing like unsanctioned slave labor and refusing to pay, all these narratives about Mitt Romney that just ended up not being true at all. Obama was silent about them. And when you're silent about that growing and escalating mistruths and deceit that are really insidious, unless you think racism is not a big deal, those are really insidious claims. And you allowed an opening for a guy like Trump to gain hold in the party that was trying to play civility politics because you beat and abused them by calling them racists, calling them xenophobes, homophobes, misogynists, and then calling their candidates, who were clearly none of those things, the worst thing, like saying he wants slavery back. He wants to put black people back in chains on the debate stage.
I want to pose I want to pose a question because I want to drill down on this for a moment and say.
Okay, but I'd like to extend beyond what JebTan is saying after. That's fine.
Okay, I think in Crenshaw has something to say as well. I think there's a few people that have things to say. But first, I just wanted to drill down on this for a second and ask, JebTan, do you think that if that attack wasn't done on Mitt Romney, how do you think that would have affected like America's political divisions? Do you think that there would have still been a space for Trump? Do you think Trumpism, how would that have affected the development of the MAGA movement or certain divisions that you have said that, for example, I know that you believe that Trump has contributed to?
Yeah. I'm gonna talk fast so that it stays succinct. If you look at the way that Trump won, he had an initial really big bump in enthusiasm, and then actually, as voters started to think a little bit more, Ted Cruz started massively gaining right near the end, but he was just too late. I don't think people were bought and sold on Trump the way they were on Obama, the way that a lot of people describe it when they're recreating history. Like Trump was the Republicans' Obama that just moved all of the neutral voting blocks over to the Republicans and saved us and all that shit. I think that if you didn't have a long lead up of people attacking conservatives for being racist, misogynist, homophobic, all conservatives, carte blanche, I do think there would have been a lot less room for Trump. I think he probably would have failed to a candidate like Ted Cruz, who ended up getting pretty close to neck and neck near the end. And I think we would have a lot less political division because I'm not gonna die on this absolutely insane hill that Trump is reasonable, that Trump does not purposefully stoke the flames of division. He absolutely does. And he absolutely has done serious damage to our political discourse. And I despise that the window was opened for a guy like him to become our candidate. And I don't think it's the Democrats' fault. I think it's the game's fault. I think the media has an incentive to get clicks by saying these really inflammatory things about candidates. And so they're just going to latch on to whatever candidate is willing to say those things more. And they're going to publicize that person way more.
Okay,
I just want to respond to that really directly. So you're talking about,
and then after Loner, we're going to throw it quickly to MPU before bouncing it back around.
So that objection, but then obviously if I wanted to do what you were saying, I could go with the Democrats and say, well, they had a reason to get inflamed because of how many times they were called communists by the Republicans, or how many times during the Iraq War they were all accused of being traitors who hated the troops and all this shit. So, but then again, that would be a very retarded defense because at the end of the day, we're adults and we have to, you don't just forego the principles of democracy and everything else just because the other side's being mean to you. At the end of the day, Biden did say something very stupid about how some stupid law that Romney wanted to pass would put people back in chains to a largely black audience, but Trump made that character his entire political platform. That's something the Democrats have not done.
He made the winning formula his platform, and I can blame him for doing that on a moral principle level, but I can't blame, when I'm looking at the a meta analysis of how politics has moved, I can't blame politics for moving toward the direction of the winning formula. And I agree. Democrats were called communists, then conservatives were called evil racists. Before, like, if you want to argue where it all started, you could argue just Woodrow Wilson, and there's nothing any of us can do about it. But we're having a conversation about the source of the division, and I think the source of the division is exactly what even you and President Sunday got at the beginning, which was there is an incentive for tribalism, to borrow the Roganism of it, that encourages people to be 100% black and white against other group for their group. And I've fallen victim to it many times as a conservative who refuses to vote for Trump, but also refuses to vote for Kamala because I'm a small government conservative. Like, I think we should have really strong political divides, and I think that we should have a really strong encouragement to bridge political divides personally.
We're going to throw it over to MPU quickly.
Yeah, so the idea about when this started really gets mostly to the point. I mean, yeah, JebTan, you're correct. It really begins with Woodrow Wilson. It begins with the 17th Amendment, okay, and the loss of the states to be able to control or restrain the actions of the House based on states' rights versus the individual rights of the way people elect the House, okay? But in a modern sense, it really starts with like the election of 2000 and how Al Gore concedes the election and then unconcedes the election. And then we end up with this process that rolls all the way forward to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court said they take a stand and they say, no, you can't continue to keep counting ballots. And then everybody bitches and moans and says the election is stolen. I don't know how many Democrats stood up and said everything was stolen. Everything was stolen. You know, people bitch about Donald Trump saying that 2020 was stolen, but my God, 20 years earlier, the Democrats were the ones leading that charge. Oh, and guess what? An independent study by the left-wing media after the election of 2000 actually found out that George W. Bush won by more votes than when the count was actually stopped.
Can we admit that Democrats did a much better job coming back and confirming that election than Republicans have lately, though? Like, we have to be able to concede.
George W. Bush won a massive amount in 2004. Okay, it wasn't until after the Democrats took over the Senate in the Senate in 2006 that they began to push this narrative like it's time to get rid of the Democrats or the Republicans, and they literally undermined him to the point that it was possible for the Democrats to have a chance in 2008. And honestly, let's be very candid. If it weren't for a third-party candidate in 2008, okay, and if it weren't for the fact that John McCain literally fell on his sword like a fucking rhino that he was, okay, that Barack Obama would not have won.
Okay.
Fell on his sword.
We have to throw it around. There's other people that got to talk. There's got to be no. I'm sorry, MP. We got to throw it around. There's other people waiting.
You got to understand.
They got to understand there's other people on the show. President Sunday. I know you've been waiting, and we got Adam Mockler as well.
We still have not seen a single answer to the actual question that the panel prompt posed, which is what caused the divisions and our divisions. I assumed it wasn't America broadly, but let's just isolate to America. We've got a whole bunch of people attacking the other party as being the cause of it.
I feel like
that's the division already.
I've pointed out a very clear answer. I feel like several times.
Okay,
I think it's the media's incentive to cover candidates that are more inflammatory than the other candidates. I think that's what caused the incentive. You can argue that incentive was cause.
But that's just restating what I said. That's not actually pointing at the actual cause.
That's
I think the cause is I think that is a cause.
I think the
media's lack of journalistic.
No. The media can only do that, presuming there's already a division in the first place. Obviously, it doesn't have a side to pick.
I disagree. I disagree 100%.
Presumably that there's.
I think the media can absolutely manufacture narratives and inflame them. I think they've done that.
Of course it does, but it has no bearing on the question.
That does, because
their thumb is on the scale every election.
If we're agreeing, President Sunday, that the issue isn't political division is good. The issue is more personal divides that are entrenched in our sort of.
When you have only binary political division, we're not talking about a lack of. We're not talking about political division in the positive sense. We're talking about an absence of other political divisions to give people more fine-tuned interests that would cause.
I don't think we don't have binary political.
So you're a parliamentarian?
No, I think the GOP has divisions within itself. I think the Democrat Party has divisions within itself. I don't think we have binary political divisions. I think we have binary personal divisions because the media creates artificial narratives of all the political divides within the Democrat Party have to unite against the democracy-ending Republicans, and the Republican divisions all have to pair together against the socialist, communist, Democrat evil people. It's like, I think the media takes
yeah, but that's not untrue though. Here's the problem though. You're taking me to be saying that that's artificial. That's not untrue though.
I think it is untrue.
But it's true. But it's not untrue.
Let's have President Sunday finish, and then we're going to throw it over to Adam because Adam has been waiting patiently.
Well, as Lonerbox said, one party tried to coup the government, but at a more subtle level, one party has been obsessively going after intellectual freedom, the ability of entire demographics to get access to the voting booth in the first place, et cetera, et cetera. Just because that dynamic takes off from that doesn't mean that the premise is
what
false.
Demographic are you suggesting?
Democrat Party's terrible.
Are you saying they don't want black people to vote? They don't want what demographic are they purposefully attacking voting rights of?
Purposely attacking when you're talking, for example, about I'm talking much more broadly because I'm from Canada. When you're talking, for example, about the general attack on entire lines of discourse, or for example, when you have an obsession with
misinformation argument.
No, hold on. Let him clarify. I'm trying to get a clarification. Don't interrupt his clarification.
Yeah, I was asking like the misinformation argument, but sure, go ahead.
I don't know what that means. The misinformation argument. No, I'm talking about the attempt to have entire sectors of academia either defunded or removed from universities entirely. And I'm talking about the attempt to use. I'm talking about the attempt. Beg your pardon?
Oh yeah.
More explanation on that, please.
Well, yeah, but he's explaining it, and then you're interrupting his further explanation.
Let's let President Sunday have 30 seconds because we have other people who are waiting. Beautiful.
No, it doesn't matter. The point is that if you're coming down to a point where you're just referring everything to the other party, you're not actually getting behind the cause of the divisions in the first place. Now, whether or not that's actually true or not is trivial. That could be the case or that could not be the case. Mm-hmm. However, the problem is that the way in which all of this conversation is oriented is that we are talking about questions that are so dire that you literally cannot physically, and Lonerbox is a constant victim of this, even when it's correctly, you cannot physically make any kind of overture to the other side or to a more moderate position without ceding ground to the other side with dire consequences.
Yeah, I kind of agree, but I think that comes to the separation of perception and reality that the media has created. Because as you said, you think that there's one party that is just unanimously pulling money away from levels of intellectual pursuit that's going to damage the country. But then one of our strongest Republican governors has elevated his state to #1 in education through more investment into education, higher teacher salaries, higher professor salaries, better tenure programs, more involvement of parents and school boards. Like, he has improved education, and he is from the party you're saying is attacking intellectual pursuits in education.
Is that a reflection of the party as a whole, or is that just one person?
I think one of the strongest governors and most influential governors from a party does represent a good chunk of that party as well, especially when he represented one of the bigger
when the whole party is calling for the ending of the Department of Education. Doesn't that kind of just like disregard?
The whole party is not. Hold on, the whole party is not calling for the. This is
they swear fealty. They swear fealty to a man who is backed by a movement that's claiming they want to destroy the Department of Education.
And this is the issue. Good. So
it is not the issue. It is the reality. It is the reality.
Rashad, stop interrupting me, because you know what I'm going to say. They swear fealty, quote unquote, to a man who has only ever denounced the plan you're referring to, who has only ever created an agenda that directly conflicts with Project 2025. And the only people that the Democrats are ever able to bring up that say that Project 2025 is Trump's plan are the people who wrote Project 2025 and are begging for it to be Trump's plan. It's like me saying the Steelers are going to start Justin Fields. I am a reputable source because I want them to start Justin
Donald Trump and the Truth are just tight like this, and we're just going to ignore all the people directly involved in Project 2025 who say, yeah, we're talking to the guy. Many of us are going to be in his administration, but
so you think Project 2025 is currently Project 2025 is Project 2025, the Heritage Foundation. You think they're very honest and Trump is a liar? Because you're saying
do you deny the obvious? Do you deny the fact that there is a connection between Trump's administration and them? He knows who they are. He associates with them. He talks about how their movement and their plans directly align with his. And then when they release Project 2025.
Except when he
Really?
talks about
So when
Project
Trump says anything, regardless of any sort of conflicting information to the contrary, we're going to ignore that and instead believe whatever gives him the best image.
The issue, Rashad.
Okay,
no, you are only accepting information.
That's effectively what you're doing.
I'm sorry to shut this down, but I'm sorry to shut this down, but other people have been waiting very patiently.
It's such a direct attack. On
you guys have over to Adam.
The entire reason the Project 2025 thing started is because I think Rashad said they want to eliminate the Department of Education. Did you say that? And then JebTan said
that's not why it started. They started attacking Project 2025 because it wanted to push like unprecedented power to the executive. That's why they started attacking.
No. I mean like 2 minutes ago. Were we talking about the Department of Education?
Yeah, we were.
Yes.
Donald Trump has said he wants to abolish the DOE. That is not coming from Project 2025.
Yeah, because you know what? Our schools were better before we had a federal.
Look it up real quick, JebTan. But also,
so we just destroy an entire department to solve what problem exactly?
I just want to clarify that Donald Trump wants to abolish the DOE.
As did Reagan.
Wait a second. I can't hear Adam, so please.
Let me take it back like 5 minutes. JebTan, didn't you say something to the effect of the Republicans got more divisive because they were copying the winning model from Democrats?
No, not from Democrats. I think the politics got more divisive because politics trended toward the winning formula. I think Trump's specific formula did get ripped from the Democrats and he exacerbated it. But I purposefully this entire time have been trying to not say it's the Democrats' fault for divisiveness. It's the Republicans' fault for divisiveness because I don't think it is. I think it is the natural incentive for inflammatory rhetoric because of 24/7 widespread media that has come as a result of.
But hold on, Don't you agree that Donald Trump?
We gotta pause this for a moment. We gotta pause this for a moment because who just said that? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear. I lost my hearing in Ukraine a little bit. Okay, Adam, give me a second. I gotta shill because in about 20-25 minutes we're going to start winding this down. And so I just want to say that for those who want to ask questions, and I will pose these questions to the people, if there's any burning questions from the conversation up to this point or that hasn't been said, people who donate right now in 10-15 minutes, I will ask the questions of the people before we let them get out of here because Hippy Dippy is back and I want to shill because I want better body armor. Okay, Adam, you can respond.
Yeah, JebTan, you keep not to keep attacking you or whatever, but you keep cherry picking this quote from Biden about putting people in chains while ignoring that Rush Limbaugh dominated the airwaves throughout the 2000s. And if we want to go all the way back to Newt Gingrich, this article reads, Newt Gingrich immediately urged people to call Democrats un-American, traitors, shallow, and sick. The 1994 election changed the way American politics works because it convinced lawmakers from both parties to use the winning tactic, which is basically what you were saying, but it seems like Newt Gingrich is the one that kind of mainstreamed this tactic.
No, he didn't mainstream it. No, Woodrow Wilson, if you want to argue the strongman president, the opposing party is literally evil. If you want to pinpoint an original person, it's Woodrow Wilson. But who the fuck cares when the Republicans did it right after him and the Democrats
go back
did
to
it right
1913. Come on. Let's talk about
this. We're pretending.
Stop for a second, guys. Wait, no, MPU. Hey, that was a barbed question in response, and I want to hear the answer to that. Adam just said, Woodrow Wilson, really? That's like 100 years ago. Is Trump divisive because Woodrow Wilson, was
yes.
What Woodrow Wilson?
That's really your best example.
No, okay, hold on.
Wait, stop. Crenshaw. I just said that he's going to respond, so he's going to respond. It was a barbed question, so he gets a chance to respond. Jeb?
Yes, thank you. Yes, history happens over a long period of time. I could also say Kamala's current stance on banning AR-15s comes from U.S. versus Miller and U.S. versus Heller, one of which happened before 1913. History happens over a long period of time. And for things to get so extreme as they have now, they had to have been ramped up over a long period of time. I think technology has made that exponentially faster, and that's why I don't think it's any party's fault. I think it's the 24/7 news cycle's fault. We've never had a 24/7 news cycle before the 2000s.
Okay, can I just kind of try to steal on what you're saying, and then we'll move on from that, because it sounds like you're saying then that because of this 24/7 media we have, is it basically it's like a bipartisan issue where the media is incentivized to leapfrog each other in terms of sensationalizing and polarizing, and that's why you get that problem, and Trump just rode that wave. Is that more or less your argument?
I appreciate that, Steelman.
Yeah. So I've steelmanned it. Now I'm just going to take it apart because again, it's not a partisan issue. Because when it comes to, even if that were the case, then Trump is still the one who took that and chose to take that of his own volition. And if people who support him chose to support him and make that deal with him to be the leader of the Republican Party, he's the one that did that of his own volition. He's the one who, and also Fox. If we're talking about the media, Fox News. I don't know what the Democrat equivalent of this is, but Fox News knowingly lied about the Dominion case, and so they did because they didn't want to lose their viewers to Newsmax.
Just stop.
That's why it's a one-sided issue, and that's why. And that's why I'll say one more thing. One more thing. Come on, chill. One more thing. I'm just saying, inflammatory rhetoric isn't a bad thing if what you're saying is true. When people say one side is a threat to democracy or democratic federal republic, that it's because it's true because he didn't accept the result of the election.
The issue is not everything they've been saying.
And he tried to overthrow the system.
Not everything they've been saying is true, though, is the problem. And that is the problem.
Generally,
we're pretending like you're pretending like Trump's divisiveness.
Rashad is a great example of.
You're pretending like Trump's divisiveness is similar to anyone else. Can you bring up another president who falsely accused the seated president of trying to murder him?
Okay, actually, we're gonna throw that question to MPU because he wanted to respond.
Can you name a former president who accused the seated president of trying to assassinate him in an FBI raid?
He didn't say.
Wait, here, look.
He did not say that
MP,
President
sorry,
he said
he did.
What do you think Trump was trying to communicate when he said that? I didn't want to hold hands with him.
I don't know if I'm supposed to answer.
No, it's for MPU.
CIA have anything to do with the John Kennedy?
No, JebTan can answer.
Well, no, we're trying to move on this time. I'm trying to.
Okay, well, look, if I may,
can we wait? Stop! Everybody, stop!
Little interjection.
No interjection. Shush. Okay, I was throwing the question over to MPU because we're trying to give everybody some speaking time. MPU, would you like to respond and go deep? Because I just wanted to give you an opportunity to move because you wanted to talk.
The idea that somehow this is one party versus another, I think the news media, by and large, since the 60s, right, since the Vietnam War effort and all of the radicalization that happened on college campuses, these were people that then became educators, and then they became parents of children who became educators. And there is a certain stripe of progressivism or communism or socialism that has pervaded itself through the education system. And to be honest, I think most people in this country, because they're having to work so hard in order to pay their bills and keep their family alive or afloat, that they somehow have forgotten what the impact of education has been on where people's political ideologies are formed.
I want to reply to MPU, and I'm going to be silent for the rest of the. I want to be silent for the rest of the panel. I just want to reply to MPU very quickly.
It all comes through the education system and the failure of American citizens, parents particularly, to maintain that control over what their kids are being taught and to hold their school systems accountable for how their children are being taught.
Okay,
and
Sunday.
now we
I just want my last word today.
Where we are.
Okay, here's the deal. We've all been reducing this down to like this party, that party did whatever. And yeah, there's probably a truth about that, but that's kind of beside the point. I know. But now I'm addressing you directly. MPU, at the end of this panel, you're going to be alone in a parking lot. It's going to be silent. And what I want you to think about is how your obsession with this, you as an individual, we know what the people in the parties are divided on. We know what their interests are. You as an individual, you put this shit above dealing with your personal life and making sure that you were in a good place with your family, with God, et cetera, et cetera. I want you to think about that when this call ends and you are in silence and there is no hope.
Look,
bring it back.
I'm not going to let you get away with it.
Okay, can I pose a question? Can I pose an actual question?
Man.
Can I pose an actual?
Don't say that bullshit.
Can I pose an actual question?
That is society writ large, fucker.
Okay, this feels this was
still true.
Yeah, way offside. I don't know.
I just have a
question.
Wait, stop. We gotta quiet down now. Look, for me, that's like way past the bar. For my personal opinion. Wait, let me finish. Let me finish. Wait, let me finish.
To Brian Kai for accusing him of sexual assault before, Dylan.
What the fuck are you doing? Sunday. You know what? Wait.
You're defending killing kids.
We're gonna quiet down. Wait. We're gonna quiet down for a second. Everybody quiet down for a second. Sunday. The reason that's past the bar for me because my mother was homeless and I saw like drug addictions and personal shit like destroy her. I don't know why you're like, oh, bring out less drama. Hi, let's bully like the homeless person. This is so fun. Oh, I'm
Bullying
such
the
a
homeless person.
I'm just a great.
Bullying
I
the
don't
homeless
like this. I
person.
don't just look. All I'm gonna say is like you're.
I'm sorry. This guy isn't.
Look, this is my one warning. Wait, I'm not done talking. Everybody, I'm sorry. I even have to mute you. I'm sorry. This is my one warning. We're getting off of this.
I'll save you the trouble. It's all good, Dylan.
This is okay. Whatever.
President Sunday's.
Can I have an actual question,
okay,
please?
we're gonna go back to like 1 second. MPU.
Fucking President Sunday to chotch out.
I mean that is.
We
true.
love the homeless.
I mean, anyway, we're gonna get back on topic. That was crazy. Who wants to grab this and bring us back to actual like?
Can I bring it back, please? I have a question.
Rashad's been on.
I have an actual question. Okay, I want to ask the conservatives here. When Donald Trump told Congresswomen of color to go back to their crime-infested countries, what was he trying to communicate there?
He didn't say that. He said go back to where you came from.
He definitely did say that.
He
because
didn't say
they're
go
dividers.
back to your country.
They're in here pushing
go
that.
back to where you came from.
No, he said go back to your crime-infested countries.
They should
go back to your crime-infested countries.
Where he said go back.
I'm more than happy.
I did.
I'm more than happy.
Who just said they should? Okay.
I don't know why we're
Trump
doubting that Trump definitely said this.
Trump 100%, unfortunately,
where you came from.
He told
us saying, hey, MPU.
Wait, one at a time. I wanted to throw it to Adam to respond. I think he wanted to clarify something.
Earlier, President Sunday's like, MPU, someday you'll be lying on your deathbed, and this is what you'll be thinking about. It's just so dark. Like, why would you say something like that? But okay. Someone said something a second ago. Oh, Hake, were you the one that was saying that they should go back to their country?
Yeah, this is all talk. People are all upset about Trump's words. Give me a break.
Okay.
Trump's actions. Trump is the solution, not the problem. But go ahead.
But MPU, is Hake divisive when he says that? MPU?
No.
Please concede to that.
I have a question. So what is it about those Congress? Wait, hold on. I have a question.
Wait, one at a time.
Just one more.
Wait.
Just one more.
Wait. Both quiet. Wait for a second, guys. If I can't. You're making my job difficult. I love the panel scene. So Crenshaw, ask your one question quick, and then we'll have the response.
Okay, so my question is what about them makes them need to go back to their country? Like, what separates them from all the other congressmen and women? Like, what is it about them that makes them need to go back? And given the fact that the majority of them were born here, where should they go exactly? I'm really curious.
Trump was going to deal with the anchor baby issue.
They're not anchor babies. So where do they go?
Go back to your country. What he was saying is, if you want to be a fucking dickhead for Brooklyn, go back to fucking Brooklyn.
No, he said countries. He said countries. He told them to go back to their countries, not their state. To go back to their countries. I'm curious as to why.
1 second. I'm sorry. 1 second. Guys. If you're all yelling at the same time, literally nobody's hearing anything and nobody's gaining anything. So Crenshaw, ask the question in a single sentence directed towards one person. That one person gets to respond, and then we move on.
Okay, is it MPU, right?
MPU, yes. And then MPU, you respond in a single paragraph.
Okay, when Donald Trump is telling them to go back to their crime-infested countries, why is he saying that to them specifically? What makes them so special? And what he also said before they tell us how to do things. Who is us, and what makes them they, and what makes everyone else us? What separates them? I'm curious.
Well, they're clearly, obviously, white haters, man haters, and they come in with a foreign evil mindset that's anti-Christian, anti-white, anti-man, and so he's naturally going to speak the way that a whole lot of normal people think and feel, and he should have the right to do that. It's not as if they're actually going to go back. Did he actually try to get the government to do it? No.
But he said it though, and that's divisive, isn't it? And no one else has ever done that. It is divisive
because he's speaking how normal people want people.
Be clear.
So you believe the average normal white person thinks that
places where you came from, not your countries, Crenshaw.
Okay, I'll pull up exactly.
Wait. Let's pause this for a moment. Wait, pause it. Wait. No, Crenshaw.
Let me clarify what he said. He's lying.
Okay, wait, no, I want to clarify one thing. Wait, let me be quiet. Okay, I'm gonna mute you both because I see the disagreement, okay? And I'm gonna boil it down to its purest form. So, MPU, you're saying that when he says they came from, that doesn't mean their countries. Where Crenshaw, you're gonna say, I assume that that's not the case. That he means their countries when he says that. Okay.
Can I read the whole quote?
Okay.
Can I just read the full quote?
No, one at a time, Crenshaw. I threw it to Crenshaw.
Shithole country.
Okay.
Donald Trump says, this is the first part of the tweet. Donald Trump says, so interesting to see progressive Democrat congresswomen who originally came from countries whose governments are a complete and total catastrophe, the worst, most corrupt and inept anywhere in the world, in parentheses, if they even have a functioning government at all, now loudly and viciously tell the people of the United States, because apparently these congresswomen aren't people of the United States, the greatest and most powerful nation on earth, how to run our government. Why don't they go back to their country and fix the totally broken and crime-infested places from which they came, then come back and show us there's a separation.
What a fucking loser.
How? What does that mean? What does that mean?
They don't.
Wait, we got to give MPU a chance to respond. Let me hear MPU. I got to hear MPU respond.
You dickheads is sitting in front of a computer.
Yeah, no.
Wait 1 second. We got to give MPU the chance to respond. What do you think of what that quote he just said?
There's nothing to respond to.
There's nothing to respond to. You're right.
Talk about people like Ilhan Omar, who literally fucking hates this country.
She's not the only one.
If Trump did say it, fine.
Exactly.
The biggest anti-Semite in the fucking Congress. Crenshaw, do you want to support?
Didn't Trump invite Kanye an anti-Semite to Mar-a-Lago?
Okay,
So
wait.
Ilhan Omar? Do you support Ilhan Omar?
I don't, but she's not a representative of my state. I don't give a fuck about no Ilhan Omar. I don't know who that is.
Okay, now let's end it there. We're ending it there. Wait, no, we're ending it there. We're ending it there because
who she is?
Ilhan Omar is not in the room, and I want to get to the main up. And she's not in the room. Adam Mockler, we're gonna throw it to Adam quickly, and then I'm gonna pose the last question to the group, which is about mending political divides. If it's possible, if we should even do it, it's something we should care about. Adam?
Can I just point out that over the past 3 minutes, MPU went from Donald Trump didn't actually say that to, yeah, fuck them, they should go back to their country. Do you support them? Yeah, like, you're going to say that these people are sitting here. No, stop. MPU, LCTRfan, and Hake.
They should go back to their country.
Okay, so when Hake said it, was it divisive?
You know that you're a liar.
When Hake said it, was it divisive? When Hake, you think they should go back to their country?
It would be great.
Okay, MPU, is that divisive?
If they don't want to fucking be in this country and be a contributing part of society, yeah, they should go the fuck back.
Okay, so we just
obviously like participating in society.
Honestly,
and you want to contribute to this country, fine, be here.
But they're congresswomen though, and like 3 of them were born here. But like
they don't belong in Congress.
Come on.
I just find it really annoying that people like Hake, LCTRfan, and MPU. You know, Hake and LCTRfan seem like nice people, but they've been gaslighting us this entire panel. LCTRfan's opening statements was calling Democrats communists, saying Joe Biden is a communist. Hake made up a new term. Hake thinks that they should go back to their country. Like, just say it one more time. Ilhan Omar should go back to her country, right? Do you think that Muslims should be banned from coming in, Hake? Because you guys are going to sit here and say that we're the divisive ones, and then Hake is going to be like, no, we should deport everyone. We should, like, it's just so annoying how you guys are going to sit here and gaslight us.
We should deport
Those are not divisive.
We should.
The truth is divisive. The truth is naturally going to be divisive, just as lies are divisive. You divide based on what's right, as Jesus did, as Trump is doing, and then you divide based on lies, which is what the Democrats and the rhinos are doing.
Let's let Hutch finish. Wait. Let's Hake finish. He hasn't talked much this show.
And then I can go.
Yeah, Hake, you didn't get to finish. I didn't hear it at the end.
Oh, yeah. So I think that to answer that one, I think Jeb's question, yes, I think Republicans might really be stupid if that's a real Trump quote, because Republicans have been voting in people who just turn against them and work with the Democrats and just follow the lead of the Democrats.
Ooh,
and
cooperation.
It is, you know, I love cooperation for what's right, but not just catering. And it is human nature to divide. I don't join into this blaming of the media stuff, because if the media were not exploiting evil human nature, if we didn't have the evil human nature within us, the media couldn't do anything. And it's not just the media. People are both spoiled and strained right now. And Trump can bring that back because he can bring back the economy. And when people are living well, they're less apt to blame other people. So, and he's also a uniter.
Spoiled and less strained.
He's for love. What's that?
Like, my issue is you're describing problems that started with Trump. Like, yes, we did vote in basically Democrat into the presidency. His name was Donald J. Trump. He's like a 90s Democrat. His policy platform, he just had the Republican platform changed to basically be a 90s Democrat platform. And you literally said it. It kind of was a Freudian slip. But you said, yeah, I think Republicans are stupid, if that's a real Trump quote. You're like, I will take Trump's lead. If he thinks Republicans are stupid, then they are.
Well,
like,
they are. Look at how. Look, we voted for McCain. We voted for Mitt Romney. I'm glad they lost.
This is the other ridiculous thing.
Yeah.
Insurrection? Yes. No, McCain? Oh, no. Romney? Oh, no.
Insurrection? Give me a break.
This can be done so fast.
Let's Jeb finish, and then I got to pose a question.
Okay.
I need the cognitive dissonance to be bridged, but it takes effort from you guys to do so. MPU, do you realize the separation from reality that you demonstrate when you say McCain died on his sword but is a rhino? You're literally admitting that he died on principle and then accusing him of being unprincipled as a result. Like, these are the guys we want to elect.
There's a difference between dying on your sword for a principle that upholds the Constitution and then being one that's just simply, I came to Congress as a broke dick motherfucker and then I left as a multimillionaire.
What sword did he die on?
What part of the Constitution? What part of the Constitution? I want to
hear. Wait, no, wait. I want to hear. Wait, I want to hear that question from JebTan's question. I want to hear. Can I hear the? Can I? Wait, no, wait. Yeah, that question.
What sword do you think McCain died on? When you say he died on his sword, what are you referring to specifically?
McCain thought that he was doing the right thing, which is fine, except he literally sold out the Constitution.
In what ways?
He could have literally ended Obamacare, which was an unconstitutional bullshit program, and he chose not to do it on his fucking deathbed. So yeah, he sold the Constitution out for his quote-unquote principles.
Out of hatred for Trump. Out of pure hatred for Trump, by the way.
Did Congress vote adequately to completely reverse Obamacare? They
did it with the 60-vote majority that cost them the 60-vote majority. You fucking ain't right, they did it, but they did it with Democratic support, not with Republican support.
Okay, so now
I'm still mind blown that someone like Hake exists.
We got. I want to throw out. But the final question, Hake, was there one? I thought you were going to say something at the end there, and before I pose the final question and we start to wrap this up, I wanted to make sure you got that chance because you were quiet most of the panel. I want to give you opportunity.
Oh. I encourage everybody to examine themselves. And, the Democrats were crying, Russia, 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 and denying the election like crazy. And everybody does it. Just cut them some slack. Once it came down to it, Trump was orderly. And that's how boomers and Christians and conservatives are. So
what was Trump doing for those 3 hours when all the goons were up inside the Capitol? I'm assuming.
I don't know. I don't care.
You don't care?
They were mulling around. The damage was already done.
Anybody?
What was he doing for those 3 hours?
And there's that's true. LCTRfan brought it up.
What about unemployment? What about fucking wage growth?
The moment you turn your back on the Constitution, I don't give a damn about your presidency. The moment you turn your back, the moment you break your oath, whatever you did as president, he
the political
oath and he wiped his ass with it.
Everybody, I'm sorry to say we're shutting it down because I think we have not fixed our political divides today. I thought we were gonna do it. I thought we were really close, honestly.
Trump sexuals, they spinning on it. I don't know what to tell you.
And wait. Before we all go, it's the last question, everybody.
Last question.
Everybody
is screaming with a sorry.
Law and order. I need the law and order presidency right now. Okay, look. I know that we had a lot of heated debate today, and everybody here couldn't disagree with each other more, but I want to throw something out there. Obviously, this conversation in and of itself is an example of the amount of political divisiveness and polarization, as lonerbox put earlier. So I wanted to ask you guys, how do we mend the divide? Should we mend the divide? And can we mend the divide? Those are the three questions. I'm going to pose it first to Adam Mockler.
Muted.
That's a brilliant point, Adam.
Wait, say it again. How can we and should we?
How, should, and can we? Or you can put it whatever order you want.
I definitely think we can, but I don't even know, It's such a broad question. Something that I've always said is media literacy classes from a young age could probably help a lot of the disinformation right now, and maybe helping the disinformation landscape could, in a roundabout way, help the division. So like my answer would be media literacy classes, but that's just one aspect of it.
Okay. And where can people find you, man?
Oh, youtube.com/adammockler. Go check it out.
Awesome, man. Did you have a good time on the revamped Hippy Dippy?
This was great. Thank you for having me on. I'm glad that everyone. If I started yelling at you guys, I haven't eaten much today, so sorry if I was mad. But I want to say, Real MPU was screaming with his face red, saying that Democrats were the ones who were divisive. He's sitting there like throwing a bitch fit, saying that we're the ones who are crazy. It's just kind of ironic.
Okay, well that means I have to throw it over to MPU because that's the only dignified thing I can do is let the man respond.
Again. Scream at me.
No, I'm sitting in a hot ass truck, and that's why it's red and it's raining. It's very humid here, and I'm an old motherfucker, so that's why. My point about all of this, you talk about media literacy classes. What about people holding fucking politicians to account for being truthful and being honest about what they're doing? We talk about like, oh, Trump did this, did that, he's this, he's that. When you look at what Trump's policies actually did, his policies were actually very good.
Which one?
Okay. The way that the news media, maybe the media literacy classes would be good. But then we have to question who the fuck is actually teaching the media literacy class. Okay. The media is literally driven by the left. So when conservatives feel like they have to push back in a way that gets the message across and they have to be loud and proud about what it is, it's very true. Everybody, they called it the Inflation Reduction Act. It drove fucking inflation. It drove it off a cliff. Okay? When politicians don't tell the truth, there's no media literacy that's controlled by one side that's going to make that better. The only thing that's going to make it better is people taking responsibility for themselves, their children, their children's education, and teaching them how to discern fact from fiction.
And where can people find you?
I am a homeless vet right now. I don't really have a streaming library, as you can tell, because I'm talking to you out of my car. But when I do stream, I stream on Twitch at the More Perfect Union, on YouTube at the More Perfect Union 4812, and a number of other sites. Come check me out. I'm on Twitch. On X, Twitter, at TheRealMPU. Follow me, please. I need the money.
Okay, I'm gonna now throw out a few questions because we did get a few before we finish with the rest of the ending statements because there's more ending statements to do, but shake it up a little bit. Here's one. I thought this was an interesting one. Let me bring it back up here. Here it is. Do any of these folks know where Ilhan Omar was born? You might shed a tear while watching Black Hawk Down, right? Do you wonder why a refugee from Somalia would leave there? I'm going to throw that.
Do you wonder why somebody that escaped that kind of totalitarian bullshit would come here and be a socialist?
Hey, I thought we were doing closing statements.
We're doing both. I'm doing both to milk it, Lecture Fan.
Nice.
Lecture Fan, don't you want me to have soft padding? Don't you want me to have better body armor, Lecture Fan? You know what, Lecture Fan? But if do you want to answer the question?
I'm ready to go.
Okay, wrap it up. Wrap it up.
Yeah. So we can and we should heal the political divide, and the only way you can do that is the way it's always done, which is one side wins and the other side loses, and that's why conservatives and Americans that believe in our Constitution, that Americans that believe in capitalism and basic notion, free speech, the Second Amendment, gun rights, et cetera, those Americans have to defeat. We must defeat these radical leftist, psychopathic, atheist, anti-America hater scumbags, and that's what we're going to do when we reelect Donald Trump and we reelect Tim Sheehy in Montana to the U.S. Senate and take out that Washington fat cat John Tester, and he's gone forever. That's kind of what I believe. And you guys can find me at Lecture Fan on every single platform: YouTube, X, Twitch, you name it, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. Lecture Fan, LCTRfan. You can see it on screen. I'm the man. Let's go.
Okay, thank you. And recently unbanned. Now we have a question, more statement about Lonerbox from Rabbit Brain, and he seems to be, I think he's a Britbonger. Despite Lonerbox being an anti-monarchist, I'm a monarchist for note. He's the most sane person on the panel. Thanks, Dylan, for rebooting Hippy Dippy. Why, thank you. I guess I'll throw it to Loner now.
I think as well as just media literacy, even like basic chronology helps. For example, if you knew about how time works, you would know that inflation spiked in 2022 at 9%. Then the Inflation Reduction Act was passed near the end of the year, and now inflation is down to 3%. That's how time works. I mean, you could also go into how Trump's big policy that he got through was basically just tax cuts. You can go or separating families at the border. You can talk about his foreign policy and how he abandoned the Kurds in Syria or in Turkey for no fucking reason. You could talk about Jerusalem, how he moved the embassy there, and then that resulted in riots at Al-Aqsa. By the way, little known fact: if you ask most Palestinians why October 7th happened and why they thought it was justified, it's because of settler riots in Al-Aqsa, because people were emboldened by Trump moving the embassy to Jerusalem. But you can talk about how like free speech, even though Trump is the one who's floated multiple times, including this year, the idea of like jailing people for burning the flag. You can talk about Fox News and literally like all these media organizations who admit that they are lying to Republican voters and being like behind the scenes going, I can't believe people believe this shit, but we need to do it because they all otherwise go to Newsmax. Yeah, at the end of the day, you made a deal with the devil. Trump tried to coup the government. He failed miserably. You don't get let off the hook for trying, though. Lots of coups fail. I think everyone who has followed, and especially after this panel, everyone who has followed Trump to this fucking cliff edge basically deserves to eat their own weight in fucking shit for the next 10 years before they finally come back to reality. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's just have, 8
we're gonna throw it over. We're gonna throw it over to Hake. Hake, have you gone? I don't think you've gone yet.
Right. Thank you, Dylan. And to LectureFan's point, if the liberals win, if the communists win, I have already submitted my petition for Dylan Burns to have a little bit of extra mercy on me and hopefully my friends in the gulags, because it's good to, honestly, it's good to try to get along with everybody as far as it depends on you. Obviously don't compromise what you believe, but you have to work with people, and that's what Trump does very well. And so watch yourselves. I think anger is the root issue in most people.
And
thanks, guys. And you can find me at TheHakeReport.com. TheHakeReport.com.
Hake will be getting an extra fungus ration in the gulag. I appreciate it.
Soylent Green, I think, is what will be served under the Harris administration.
Soylent Green. Open question from Uncle Iroll. What kind of body armor would Dylan get and best bang for his buck? I don't think anybody here can give me that advice. Can anybody here give me that advice? MPU, you're a veteran, aren't you?
I'm a veteran. What was the question again?
What would be the best body armor for me? What do you think?
Oh, you got to do plate. You got to do ceramic armor, man.
Okay, ceramic. That is the right call, actually. Unironically,
yeah.
Steel, it'll ricochet.
I was in the Navy. We didn't wear body armor, but I'm not stupid, so
absolutely. Now we're gonna throw it now.
As much as all the guys would think on the panel would like to think I am not smart, I'm actually pretty smart.
No, you seem intelligent, just not in the way that politics.
Like compartmentalizing, some people are good at some things, not so much others.
Yeah, well, I have a real job. I can't walk around with like a cellular backpack filming shit at the DNC.
Hey, I think
to be fair, I don't do that either. That's Zoomer shit.
We're gonna throw it now over. We're gonna now throw it over to Crenshaw.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with Adam Mockler by saying, media literacy is a very big thing. I think also civics literacy is a very big thing. I think, watching Republicans go back to their districts and brag about legislation they refuse to actually support is never not insane to watch. I think that the division can be mended. It should be mended, but the only way it can be mended is for every single person who aided and abetted Donald Trump's insurrection and supported him after to go to prison. I think once that happens and people understand that there is a serious penalty for betraying the Constitution and that it will cost you possibly the rest of your life in prison, I think maybe we'll see a significant improvement in our nation's cohesion. So, yeah.
So basically, if we capitulate to the left, we'll be good.
If you follow the Constitution, you won't spend the rest of your life in prison.
Okay, wait, we're wrapping up. We're on a tight schedule. We're on a tight schedule. Tight ship. JebTan, I gotta go to the bathroom. You wrap us up. I'll be right back, everyone.
Yeah, I'll give myself a self-imposed 2-minute timer. Yeah, I think to bang some drum that I think people are tired of hearing because they don't know what it means is critical thinking, I think, is the key to bridging the divide. Not critical thinking in terms of think and be critical of everything you've ever heard or looked at. Be critical of your own thinking. When you see a news article that gets you really angry at a group of people, analyze, are you angry at that group of people because it's true, or are you angry at that group of people because you've been presented a selection of facts that is designed to make you angry at a group of people? I think there are people on both sides in this conversation who are not critical, and that in that context. And I think, at least in political context, it's a really easy not to be critical in that sense. When I came to my sort of diagnosis that the media is the problem, it was a clinical diagnosis. I diagnosed it by treating it, and I treated it by looking at the different conversations I have and which ones are the best. It's the ones where people on both sides of the aisle will openly and proactively call out their own party's mistakes, call out their own media's lies, call out their own media's misinformation, and call out their own emotional biases in the conversation. And that tends to cure the issue, which created a clinical diagnosis of bridging this personal divide, not political divide, because political divides do not need to be mended, but the personal divide needs to be mended by proactively conceding whenever you have the opportunity to. Don't look at concessions as a loss, look at concessions as an opportunity to bridge the gap in a personal conversation, because at the end of the day, none of us are winning or losing an election with the concessions we make in a conversation, but we can win or lose coalitions, friendships, and empathy from the other side if we refuse to make concessions when there's an opportunity to do so. And I've seen a lot of concessions on both sides where there were really great opportunities for very easy concessions to be made, not being made, mostly from my side. So I agree that it is my side's turn right now to play with the wheel of hardcore proactive political division. And the only way to mend that is to pull our hands off the wheel purposefully.
Give in.
And with
let the Democrats take over.
And with that, we have now ended the first debate of the Hippy Dippy Roundtable being back. I hope you all had a decent time, or at least you got something out of it, some experience, whether it be, joy or shame, whatever it was. Thank you so much for coming on. Hope you guys have a great night. And thank you so much for taking the time to come on tonight. Thank you very much.
Thanks for hosting, man.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you,
Thanks. I
everybody.
appreciate it.
Take care.
Okay, guys. What a conversation that was. My goodness. Oh, my goodness. Wow. Oh, hello, Hake. You're still here. And there he goes. I guess that will be Danabo's job. Man, that was something, huh? We had some twists and turns, didn't we? My goodness. Some twists and turns. Connor, welcome on in. Welcome on in. I gotta ask you two, Connor and Doghouse and Pondering Politics. Pondering Politics used to be on the Hippy Dippy Recruitment Show, which is going to be launching August 25th of this month. You still haven't gotten your fill of debate after tonight. Don't worry, August 25th, it is coming. We're going to have some new up-and-coming Twitch stars. Many people have been groomed by the Hippy Dippy Recruitment Show in a positive way, not in a negative way, as in making stars, not in making twitlongers. And I am excited to show the next generation of icons in the space. But we have Pondering Politics who's in here, who's blown up, and I'm really happy for his success. Connor, who is back, who helped do a Hippy Dippy Chinese knockoff, which I enjoyed very much. And we have Doghouse Show, who is another another one of my goons, another one of my veteran goons in the stable. What's your guys' immediate reaction to the conversation that we just had in the relaunch of the Hippy Dippy Roundtable?
Beautiful, just like the old days.
There was a quote that I was thinking of during that entire thing, and it was, I didn't run. But I just wanted to throw that out there. Well,
is this in reference to somebody?
It might be. It might. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. That was a very interesting.
What does everybody think about that? I mean, that was like probably there was a lot of shocking moments when it comes to just how divided we were. I think the whole debate in of itself was an example of America's political divisions. What did you guys think of that moment? It was certainly a very kind of unexpected.
Hold on. It's like the Undertaker doing like his move though. Like, I don't watch wrestling a lot, but I'm sure that there's like wrestlers with like signature move. President Sunday has his signature move. So would it be a President Sunday showing if he didn't bust out a signature move? Now, he has gotten away from it in recent times, but maybe he just knew, big show, gotta, earn my rep, gotta hone my reputation, show my finishing move. And that was the screw you all, I'm going home disconnection.
Regrettably, I missed that part. Unfortunately, I was too busy basking in the off and on segments and basking in the brilliance of RashadCrenshaw, an up and comer who is putting out number one, fantastic content. Number two is an excellent debater. But whatever references you all are making, I unfortunately missed apparently the highlight of that particular.
I can talk about it since it felt like I became kind of the center of it. a tiny bit. But what happened was that during the debate, and one of the guests today is a homeless veteran by the name of More Perfect Union on the conservative side. And during the debate, that information was made known. And Sunday, in one of the critiques of what he was saying about the elections, let me say, I didn't really agree with anything More Perfect Union said today. I thought, it's all stuff that I disagree with, like, to the core. But then President Sunday decided that he would, go after, in a form of attack, the fact that he was going to be sleeping in a parking lot because he sleeps in a car. And everybody kind of reacted in a kind of like, I could feel the tension in the room. And, I kind of immediately went in. And what my goal was as the moderator, my goal is not to dictate morality, you're not allowed to say it unless we get into slurred TOS territory. Because if somebody shows who they are through their language, that's how it's supposed to be. So I made my opinion known quickly, because even if I don't like to share my opinion much on the show, if I hear a statement that I want to distance myself from, then I'll distance myself from the statement. And so I said, that's too far for me. I said that out loud, that it was too far for me to President Sunday, and I meant as in for me. And maybe he interpreted that as that's too far for the show, you're not allowed to say it, which I don't like it's being said on my show, but he's allowed to say it. And he then reacted to that by bringing up the old Prime Kai's drama from over, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. Then he went after somebody else, then went after somebody else, and then he ran away. The thing that gets me, though, is I was actually just going to do, all I was saying was, hey, that's too far for me, and so we gotta let him respond. All I was gonna do was hand it over to MPU and let him respond. And I wasn't even gonna kick him or say you're not allowed to say that. I was just that's too much for me. Obviously, that's a lot what you just said. So MPU has to be able to respond to that. But he didn't let me finish. And so he was already going after old stuff because.
But I am sure Sunday will catch a certain amount of internal flack from the lefty side for degrading somebody's housing status in a debate. You can attack the ideas. You can even attack the person. You can attack what they look like or something like that. But obviously, there's some things that we're going to be sensitive about. And then not just that lefties ostensibly should be sensitive about, like housing status. That should be one of the the things. But I wanted to not rebut, but I wanted to comment on something.
I just want to say one last thing, though.
Sure, go ahead.
And before I throw it back to you guys, it's just, for me, it was my mother was homeless, and so for me, it was especially too far. And that destitution was one of the things that contributed to her death. And so for me, it was personally too far. But Hippy Dippy is you express yourself however you are. But it's weird to get that type of reaction with somebody who's has good reason, I think, to not be okay with that type of derivative attack, which I don't think just affects MPU, by the way, even if I disagree with MPU and everything, there are other homeless people who could be affected by haha, you sleep in a car.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people in Twitch and YouTube politics who who come here to socialize and have fun, but are not necessarily always the most mentally or physically or housing stable people on the planet. But I did want to address something that Pondering said. He was mentioning RashadCrenshaw. So what I love about Hippy Dippy is that it can really expose some of the rawest nerves in a conversation. And one of the things that he poked at, because I think he found it messed up, was he was saying, what did Trump mean by go back to your place of origin or whatever? And there was kind of a real clamping down on that conversation. And then what ended up happening, which I think is kind of brilliant and exposes the show, is if you were doing an interview, oftentimes people would be like, okay, that's a little much, they're going to back off. But when it's a fight and it's live, they just own that. And I was just like, that's kind of what Hippy Dippy does, is it makes people own their positions live in public because they don't want to back down because they're in a dogfight. And sorry, real quick.
I'm sorry, sir. Are you saying that Hippy Dippy brings out the worst in people? Is that what you're trying to tell Dylan?
It brings out the most abrasive and aggressive in people, which you can view as a virtue or a vice. But the thing is, I would have bitten down on that bullet too. I would have been like I would have at least articulated it descriptively, if not said it was a positive thing. I would have said Trump probably means that America is a wealthy, powerful, rich nation that you can criticize many of its flaws, but it's doing a lot of things right. The people who are its most ardent critics tend to be people who have come here recently. I think that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I know she's from Brooklyn, but I think her family is from Puerto Rico. I think Ilhan Omar, her parents are from Somalia. And so that comment of like, well, you just came from basically an anarchic, destitute, economically deprived S-hole, I think is, what Trump ostensibly called it. Who are you to tell us how to live? I think that is a real feeling that conservatives have.
Yeah, and I want to hit on this too, is something that I saw Rashad do that I thought was fantastic is he kept his composure. I was telling my chat this, is that when you're in these debates, how you are rhetorical, how rhetorical you are comes off to the audience in a certain way. And More Perfect Union losing his cool came off as very uncomposed and not able to get his point across without getting that frustration out. So I feel like Rashad won on that. He just looked better. More Perfect Union had to eat those words.
I hated it.
And I was very surprised at how much we were going back to old talking points. I heard very little in terms of some of the more recent things. And I'd be honest with you, I don't know if I got to the point of where I figured out which candidate would be worse for democracy. To be honest with you, that's where I kind of left off. I said, man, where were we? We're talking about.
I mean, this is where I pity the Trump defenders here, just because by virtue of the facts, they have the steeper hill to climb, trying to make the case that Trump is better for democracy than really any alternative. I mean, it's interesting too. Connor points out that this feeling that obviously a lot of people have, particularly on the right, and I would say some in the center as well. This idea of how do you express your critique for America? I think Matt Walsh of the Daily Wire recently said that, Democrats really don't love America because they want to change so much about America. They want to fundamentally change it. And he said, if you tell your wife you love her, but you want to change everything about her, do you really love her? And of course, as somebody on the left, I think it's categorically ridiculous because America's not your spouse. It's your home. So let's use that metaphor, right? You've got a fucking house that you love. You've lived in it for 14, 15 years and, the roof is caving in or the foundation is unstable. What do? You fix it. You don't ignore it. You don't pretend, even if it's fundamental structural changes. And so it's interesting to see kind of the flip side of that.
Perfect foundation. Don't worry about it.
It's perfect. Everything's great. You just ignore that puddle right there.
But
listen,
I want to. Yeah. There was a rhetorical issue though that I think that JebTan was my spirit animal in this debate, at least for the parts that I caught. Was he was still articulating conservative viewpoints, but he was also trying to realize that like we are in this together. I want to at least rhetorically, if not on policy, I want to reach out an olive branch to the other side. But what was so funny, because like I could feel his frustration when he heard it, was he was extending those olive branches and those conversations and all that kind of stuff, and then Hake and LCTRfan came in right behind him, and they're like, "No compromise!" Boom, and they hit him in the back with the steel chair, and that's just perfectly that's exactly how it feels.
I talked to JebTan before this, and I was like, "Good luck reeling it in, buddy. Good luck reeling." I was like giving him like, I was like, "Take out the pads, come on, man." You better be ready.
That's the feeling. No, but that's the feeling of like a moderate Republican or a good faith conservative. You could have like really far right-wing points, but you're trying to negotiate with the other side in order to find something that fulfills both of your principles. And then just out of nowhere, once somebody on your team just comes up and just hits you in the back of the head with a flying elbow, and you're just like, wow, I can't believe I wasted 3 hours of my life just to get stabbed in the back. But that's the game.
That's why you got to choose your teammates quite carefully and manage them accordingly. That's why I'm definitely interested to see what happens with the Destiny Hutch debate. Obviously, it's disappointing that Lauren Southern won't be there because I think, as far as right wingers are concerned, Sean and Lauren would be, I think, as formidable as a team you could possibly have. Now, obviously, I'm betting on Hutch and Destiny, if only for the fact that I'm much more aligned with their views. But that's going to be a tight team right there because they can complement each other very well.
You got to be careful, though. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I want to say this, is that I am currently going for Destiny and Hutch, only for the simple fact that Destiny has done extensive research on January 6th over the several past years. And I think January 6th is the core crunch of this question of democracy. And I think that gives Destiny a huge leg up. And I think that Hutch will complement that against Sean. So that's where I stand.
Well, the facts, that's the thing. Like, unfortunately, when the facts favor a particular thing, like this isn't Dylan's fault, it's just how the chips fall where they may.
Sure.
Unfortunately, and this is why Connor is where Connor is, because yes, he's a conservative. Yes, he considers himself a Burkean Republican. But unfortunately, it's really hard to hitch your wagon to Trump in that respect, because he just makes it basically being the best Trump defender is like being the world's smartest flat earther, right? It's like it doesn't matter. Yeah.
But
Okay,
but I don't
guys, we got to wrap it up. We have to wrap it up. So quickly, I'm going to go around the room and everybody's going to say quick statement about what they think's going to happen and who they think's going to do better or do worse, etc. Starting with Connor.
Okay. Don't underestimate Sean. He's a phenomenal debater. He does not concede. He can fight really well, and he typically researches really well as well. So don't underestimate him is my prediction.
My prediction is Destiny and Hutch are going to sweep. I don't know who the other guy is, but unless he's, I don't know, 40 Sean's and he can like rewrite reality, it doesn't matter.
Let me just say, Cam Higby agreed to do this on extremely short notice to replace Lauren Southern's last-second dropout. So I got to give him props for coming out with very little time to research. He canceled his stream today just to get some research in.
That's a heck of a relief pitcher there. But yeah, I'm gonna bet on Destiny and Hutch. I think they're gonna sweep. And if Destiny becomes Nebraska Steve, Hutch might as well just kick back. Yeah.
And Doghouse, wrap us up.
Yes, sir. So I'm going to say this. I'm putting all my chips on Destiny and Hutch. Even though I want to root for the underdog, and my name is the Doghouse, I'm totally going for Destiny and Hutch in this. I think they definitely have the leg up on this. They're absolutely going to come out of this winning and swinging. And just know, at the end of the day, that President Sunday did run. Just want to make that note, okay?
Oof. And with that, we're going to wrap this up. Thank you, guys. See you guys later. And everybody who's watching, go to the YouTube if you're watching on Twitch, or go to my website, dylanburns.tv, because Twitch, Destiny's banned there, and we cannot stream there. So if you're on Twitch right now, if you want to watch the main event, the big show, you got to go to dylanburns.tv, watch on my website, or Dylan Burns live on YouTube. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you guys for coming on today, taking some time to be on the show today. We're going to go around and have everybody introduce themselves. I want to thank Sean, Destiny, Hutch, and Cam Higby for coming on. Let's start with the guy who just, arrived in the last second to save us. Cam Higby, want to introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. My name's Cam Higby. I'm an investigative journalist and undercover journalist for a company called Today's America, and I also do political commentary and debates.
Thank you very much for coming last second. I do appreciate it, and I hope the viewers at home consider the fact that this is a last second appearance for Mr. Cam Higby. We're going to throw it over now to Hutch.
Welcome, everybody. It's nice to meet you, Sean. Thanks for subbing in so quickly, Cam. Look forward to having the conversation with you, and congrats on bringing Hippy Dippy back, Dylan.
Thank you very much. Always happy to come to the depths of Twitch poll and see where I can make my coin. I'm going to now throw it over to Destiny.
What's up? I'm also an investigative political guy. I investigate Wikipedia, and thanks for having me.
Happy to have Wikipedia's top researcher here today. We're now going to throw it over to Sean Fitzgerald, also known as Actual Justice Warrior.
What's up? I'm a YouTuber. I focus mostly on crime stuff, and the reason Lauren couldn't make it is due to the fact that we can't work together. It's my fault. I take all the blame for it.
Damn.
You can't work together?
Yeah, irreconcilable differences.
Wow, I had no clue. Well, there you go. Breaking news from Sean Fitzgerald. Irreconcilable differences. Whatever those were. Now we're going to go into the topic for today. The topic is democracy on the ballot in 2024? It's a big topic from the left. You hear a lot that Donald Trump is anti-democracy. He's authoritarian, that he tried to overturn the results of the election. And so many Democrats are fearful that if he wins, that he's going to end democracy as you know it. He's going to do damage to our institutions. On the right, you hear a lot about the political persecution of Donald Trump through the justice system picking on him and going after him legally in order to try to undermine his presidential ambitions? Or is it all just nonsense and everybody needs to stop being so hyperbolic? Is democracy on the ballot in 2024? We're going to start today with, let's go with Actual Justice Warrior.
All right, great. Thank you. So the question of is democracy is on the ballot is honestly a bit ridiculous in my opinion. It is not on the ballot for this election, and if my opponents are going to argue the contrary, they're going to have to explain exactly why the mechanisms of our government are going to be overthrown if presumably Trump gets elected. The fact of the matter is our government is the longest consistent government currently going in world history at this moment in time. We have been through a bunch of different controversial elections. We have been through a Trump presidency already. So these guys are going to have to explain what would be different about Trump winning in 2024 that was different from him winning in 2016.
Okay, I'm going to now throw it over to Hutch.
I actually wrote out kind of a lengthy opener. Is that okay, or do you want it more concise?
To 2 minutes, under 2 minutes is usually where we go. 2:30 I'll allow, but like don't go like excessive.
Okay, let me just try to get through as much as possible.
Okay.
So I do in fact think that democracy is on the ballot in 2024, even if the threats it faces aren't necessarily immediate. I would like to focus on what lies do to a democracy. It's impossible to have a healthy, functional democracy if the electorate is aggressively misinformed. When you have a misinformed electorate that are angry enough about the lies they've been told, events like January 6th become more and more likely. One person in particular has misinformed his voters more than any president that has ever come before him. Everybody on this panel knows that every politician lies to one degree or another. Omission, exaggeration, embellishment, and hyperbole are all standard practices for any politician, but Trump is not your average politician, and the brazenness of his lies put him in an entirely separate universe. He lies about the weirdest, most unnecessary, easily disprovable things, such as he started his presidency with a lie about his crowd sizes. He claimed that the clouds parted and it stopped raining as he started speaking at his inauguration. He used a Sharpie pen to elongate the projected path of a hurricane, claims that windmill noise causes cancer. He lied about being Michigan's Man of the Year. These are just the silly lies, but I think they give you a sense of who he is. He's clearly demonstrated that he has no regard whatsoever for the truth. His instinct every time he opens his mouth is self-aggrandizement. And to that end, he is willing to do and say whatever pops into his head at any given moment for any given topic. The truth simply does not matter to him at all. The spirit of democracy is a government of the people, by the people, for the people. And if the people are angry, confused, and misinformed, you are throwing about 10,000 wrenches into a system that was designed with bipartisan efforts in mind. It's simply impossible to work together with a group of people that live in a totally different reality crafted by their chosen leader. I had more to that, but I'll just cut it off there.
We'll get through it during the conversation. We're going to throw it now over to Cam Higby.
Yeah, I don't think that Trump is capable of, nor do I think that he has the influence to overthrow democracy or disintegrate it in this country. And yeah, that's pretty much gonna be my opening statement. I think he's, done plenty of things. He's tried to do plenty of sneaky things, and it's not worked each time. So,
okay, we're gonna now throw it over to Destiny.
I think democracy is on the ballot. I think we are a democratic, constitutional republic. I think Donald Trump stands opposed to every single part of that system. Donald Trump does not like democracy. He wants to rule as the single executive, as the king who can make decisions that circumvents Congress or decisions that are beyond the courts. It's why he asked for criminal immunity from the Supreme Court. It's why he tries to do immigration policy and other policy through executive order. He doesn't value the legislature. I think that we are a constitutional republic. We have a constitution that all of us are supposed to answer to. Donald Trump says that when he needs to, he will terminate the Constitution. If he needs to find voter fraud, if he needs to hunt political enemies, he says that he can suspend the Constitution or terminate it and go after those people. And we are a republic where the power is vested in our representatives to make decisions for us. We are not a monarchy. We are not ruled by one man. We are supposed to have an entire legislative branch. And Donald Trump's entire political career is all centered around only staffing the government with sycophants, is only centered around trying to get people in Congress who will worship him and who will help him circumvent responsibility and the law in any way, size, shape possible. Like when he avoided his conviction in the Senate for impeachment because people, for some reason in the Senate, thought that you can't impeach a non-sitting president, which is ridiculous. So yeah, I think that Donald Trump stands opposed to every single foundational idea about our democracy, and he stands opposed to the very reasons that Sean mentioned that our democracy is one of the longest living ones on the planet thus far.
Okay, so from there, we're gonna leave it to be open for you guys to go back and forth. Who wants to grab it first?
I can grab it. I love grabbing things.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there was a very, very simple question posed initially. I think Sean said that if we're going to say that Donald Trump represents some existential threat this time as opposed to last time, what's changed? And the thing that's changed is that Donald Trump didn't understand how any part of the government worked last time. This time he's got a slightly better understanding, so he's only picking people that will go along with him for his illegal plots instead of assuming they'll go along with him for his illegal plots like he did last time. So I think picking people like J.D. Vance, who has signaled that he would back him on any attempted coup stuff like what he tried for January 6th, I think is a good example of a meaningful change in Trump's next administration as opposed to his last one.
Okay, we're gonna throw it. I want to throw. That was a response to Actual Justice Warrior. So you think you could take that?
Yeah, so I mean, you bring up January 6th, which is unsurprising. You've been doing a million, billion, zillion hours of streaming on this specific issue, so I understand that that's your go-to point. But my question is that January 6th, you know, if we take it in its worst reading, was a plot involving the electors. If Donald Trump is elected the 47th president of the United States, that will be his second term in office, which according to the 22nd Amendment, he is not eligible to run for president again. So how are you going to cite this plot that's not even possible if he wins as a mechanism for him to remain in power when he can't put himself on the ballot as per the 22nd Amendment? Again, you have to demonstrate that Donald Trump is going to be able to end democracy with the methods that are available to him. Do you think he's going to overthrow the 22nd Amendment, that Republicans are going to gain enough in the House and the Senate and statewide in order to get rid of that so he can serve for additional terms? Like, how is this plot that you're imagining in your brain going to actually work?
Two very simple things. One, he said that he doesn't like the Constitution, so he can terminate it at will. He's already said that once. I don't think he actually could do that. But the second thing, the nice thing about kings is they always have children to run their kingdom for them after they're gone. He could very easily do the same type of plot, but instead do it to get Trump Jr. in office instead of himself.
So he's going to pass it to Trump Jr. non-electorally. Like, how exactly is that going to work? I'm just...
The same way that he tried to pass it to himself non-electorally, where he got people to lie and say they were electors and then try to get the VP to certify the vote in Congress.
Okay, again, but that had to do with him being on the ballot and an elector scheme, and like we all understand that to a certain extent.
Son be on the ballot next election cycle?
Well, he wouldn't be on the ballot for the 2028 presidency. Like, so he's going to
put him run for the presidency in 2028?
Oh, his son is going to run. So if his son is elected and he wins, like, how is that ending democracy? Like, we've had
it's not democracy if he wins. It's if they try to make him win when he didn't win, like he tried to do in 2020.
Oh, okay. I see. So you think he's going to hand it off to Don Jr. Like, that's the line that you're going with.
I mean, he could. I don't know. Why not? He tried to illegally hand it off to himself last time. Why wouldn't he do it to his son next time? Who knows?
I think all the arguments to try to prove that like democracy is going to end if Trump wins the election this year is just going to be based on conjecture. Like, I think the arguments about like Trump appointing people to government, specifically in like courts and stuff, that worship him and that will follow him into the depths of hell to get him reelected is just like not true. Like the courts repeatedly, when he tried to like claim election fraud and stuff like that, repeatedly rejected to hear claims. They repeatedly rejected to hear appeals. Even the Supreme Court with a 6 conservative supermajority rejected to hear anything about it. So like, if it wasn't achievable last time, I highly doubt with all of these people that are allegedly loyal to Trump in the government, even right now, I highly doubt he would ever manage to pull it off.
So I think there's a couple things here. I think like we're talking about the risk to democracy in an immediate sense. I don't think we need to limit it to just that. We can talk about ways that he could sort of chip away at democracy and lay the foundation for democracy being stress tested in the future. But I guess my question to my two conservative co-panelists here are, what is the logic around, like, first of all, do you acknowledge that he stress tested democracy in 2020? And what, if you do, what would be the logic of allowing him a second chance to try to stress test it in ways that maybe we haven't even thought of yet?
Also, as a quick thing before that question is answered, just as a response to that, what was just said, first of all, the courts didn't reject him. He got more criminal immunity than he even asked for, number one. Number two, J.D. Vance is a person that he would put in that would go along with him further than Pence did. So that's an example of him picking somebody that would help him. And then number three, when we say every single judge ruled against him, they did in the election fraud case, but Judge Cannon in Florida basically tossed his entire case in Mar-a-Lago, and at the very least, has succeeded in delaying it past the election. So that's not true either.
Yeah. So you could argue that they sided with him on like presidential immunity stuff, but that's literally written into the Constitution. Like that's not siding.
Literally not. It's literally not written. I promise you, it's not.
To rule upon the Constitution, but when you look at like actual rejection of election-related cases, in December 11th, according to BBC, federal courts refused to hear his cases. AP in February 22nd, 2021, they refused to hear his cases. And NBC reported on March 8th, 2021, that the final election challenge was rejected by federal courts. All Trump appointees, by the way. In addition, 9 judges that he appointed in 2020 also refused to hear specifically like ballot disputes, right?
On election fraud, yes. But for the criminal immunity, that's not in the Constitution. The Supreme Court invented that for Donald Trump.
But again, your argument seems to be that our institutions are strong enough to withstand someone like Trump. But my question is, how do you justify allowing someone to come in and check those institutions and actually stress them and see how far these checks and balances actually go to constrain him?
Well, first of all, prior to your question, you were like, well, I'm not saying democracy is going to end. I'm just saying it's going to be chipped away. So you got to kind of commit to your argument, because if you're saying it's not going to end, then you kind of agree with me in that regard, that the institutions are well suited to hold up to whatever challenges, real or imagined, that Trump will bring up. So it seems a little weaselly for you to back off of the premise of the debate by saying like, oh, well, he might chip away at our institutions. I mean, you could argue that prosecuting your political opponent is chipping away at our institutions. You could argue that using new interpretations or setting up test cases in order to set up for a future prosecution against a former president is a chip at our institutions and at the norms that we're typically used to in the United States of America. You know, the things that ultimately ended up leading to that immunity decision from the Supreme Court. That's not really the end of democracy. I don't think that our system was destroyed over the last 4 years under the Biden administration. So like, I think you got to either commit, like Steven actually is, to some kind of crazy plot that Trump's going to overthrow our entire system of government, or not.
Also, hold on. Prosecuting political opponents. Biden is not prosecuting political opponents. I don't know what that has to do with. I think that we have a system of criminal law in this country, and upholding the system of criminal law is one of our institutions. The judicial courts, are part of the institutions of the United States. It's one of the 3 branches of government. So the idea that a court or a prosecutor saying that Donald Trump's committed crimes and then having him stand trial in court is an upholding of our institutions. It's not a violation of them.
I also reject your absolutist take here. You're saying that there's no middle ground. That I will tell you, during the Trump era, my faith in our institutions actually went up. It made me appreciate our institutions in a way that I didn't before, because they so sufficiently checked him. What I'm saying is that you don't necessarily need to make the case that democracy itself is going to end on January 20th, 2025, if he's elected. I'm saying he can do sufficient damage to our institutions during his time in office, such that it would be the case later on that it would be even easier to chip away at a later date. I don't understand why
it's not really on the ballot.
You agree to the premise of this debate is democracy on the ballot, meaning this election will decide whether or not democracy continues. That's the premise of this debate that you agreed to.
That's a strict interpretation of what we're talking about here. I think you can make the case that democracy is in peril with someone like Donald Trump taking office, even if it means what it could potentially mean down the line.
The premise is
I don't interpret that premise the same way that you do.
It's not vague at all.
No, I'm saying democracy can be on the ballot, and you can make that case by pointing to the many times that he stress tested our system and the fact that he will do it again.
I mean, it seems, again, it's like democracy is not on the ballot, but it is on the ballot when it's convenient in this way. It's like, I don't know what exactly I'm arguing against. I don't know if it's
going to be like literally the end of democracy, but we know that he tried to end it his first time. I have no idea like what he has in mind in terms of what he wants to do down the line. I know that he tried to end the Democratic project the first time he was in office. So I'm not saying that's entirely off the table. I'm saying that is possible, but there's also these considerations over here. How do you two justify seeing what he did? You both seem intelligent, informed. How do you justify watching what he did in the months leading into January 6th and watch what he did on January 6th and decide to yourself, you know what, I'm okay with like giving him another chance to do something similar should he want to do that? How do you justify that?
I think the premise of the debate is not, are we voting for Trump or not? I think the premise of the debate is democracy on the ballot, which puts the burden of proof to prove that democracy is on the ballot to you, right? We're not claiming that like we justify what Trump did, or we're not trying to justify what Trump did, right? We're not saying that all of these things you're talking about that Trump did were great or good things. I actually think that a lot of them were bad things, but that doesn't mean that democracy is on the ballot. There's no way that our institutions won't withstand whatever like Trump throws at them, right? We have checks and balances in the country, and anything he tries to do to deteriorate away from those checks and balances, I believe, will be checked by those very checks and balances.
Okay, just hold on real quick. Democracy is on the ballot, and you are definitionally incorrect. We've lost some of those checks and balances. One of them is the criminal prosecution of the President of the United States. Most people would agree, most reasonable people would agree, the president probably shouldn't be able to commit crimes while he's in office, because criminal law is important and the public has an interest in not seeing criminals committing crimes, especially the president of the United States. The judiciary is a check that we have lost, essentially, on the president. So that's one check that's completely gone. Republicans have shown that they are willing to sycophantically support Donald Trump in basically whatever he wants to do. That's why on January 6th, he had 11 senators, plus I think Jim Jordan, a representative, that was willing to go along with his contesting the election, contesting the certification of the results. So that shows that the legislature is somewhat compromised as well. And then you've got the president of the United States, who is going to be, or who would be Donald Trump, who believes, I guess, in the unitary executive theory, where he thinks that he can go and he can talk to whoever he wants in whatever department he wants and fire and hire whoever he wants in order to get them to do whatever he wants. So it kind of seems like he wants to just be one man that rules everything. So in terms of checks and balances existing, seems like those aren't doing too hot right now with the way that Donald Trump wants to run things. And if you talk about the Constitution, which should be your ultimate check, Donald Trump says that he wants to terminate the Constitution when it's convenient to him. So I don't see how we're so confident that our checks and balances would survive another term of Trump when he already succeeded in eroding like 1.5 of them.
Yeah, Destiny, do you seriously think that Trump is going to terminate the Constitution and be successful in doing that?
I wouldn't have seriously thought that Donald Trump would try to rig the election, and I wouldn't think that 75% of Republicans today would still believe that the last election was stolen. So, I mean, I wouldn't think either of those things too, but...
Destiny, that's not the question I asked you. Like, do you actually believe that Donald Trump is going to, like, rescind the Constitution successfully?
I think he would want to, yes. Would he have the ability to do so? I'm not sure. I don't know right now.
Well, that's the question. It's like, would Trump have the ability to like overthrow democracy in the country? That's the entire premise of the debate. Again, like even you're not sure that he's going to rescind the Constitution, but you keep citing it over and over again as like a talking point against Trump.
The question is democracy on the ballot?
Like, what?
With Barack Obama, closing Guantanamo Bay was on the ballot. Yes, but he didn't do it. I mean, because he wasn't able to do it. What is the question? You're not asking me something on the ballot. You're asking, can you say with 100% certainty that in the future this particular thing will happen? Nobody knows that about what's on the ballot. That's not how voting works.
But with the Guantanamo Bay thing that you're talking about, right? Like this was like a stated presidential goal, yes?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. So is overthrowing democracy a stated presidential goal from Donald Trump?
Yes.
Really?
Okay.
Yep. Okay, actually, well, the Constitution thing, sure. It's not a state, like he's not running on this though. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes, he is.
No, he's not. Okay. How's he running on
when
it?
The president says that I would arrest people for burning the flag, it's a violation of the First Amendment. The amendments are part of the Constitution, by the way.
That's
the president said he would suspend the Constitution. He would terminate the Constitution in order to go after voter fraud. That's kind of an attack on democracy. Yes, he said he would do that. He said he'd be a dictator on day one. Like, how am I supposed to read that?
We have to get past the election. We have to get past the election first. Do my co-panelists here? Are you guys 100% confident that he's not going to engage in some kind of similar scheme to 2020? Are you guys confident that he's not going to try to influence election officials all over the country to circumvent the will of the voters like he did in 2020? Are you guys 100% confident he's not going to do that again?
You're changing the parameters of the debate, but that's fine. But to Steven's point about, he wants to arrest people he said he wants to arrest people for burning the American flag. He said that in 2016. When he was running then, he said that for long periods of time in his life. And when he was in office, he did absolutely nothing to forward those goals. And you also say, this presidential immunity, it doesn't exist. People don't want the president to commit crimes and all that. Well, I happen to remember when Barack Obama actually murdered an American citizen abroad, Abdul al-Awlaki. And Eric Holder, his attorney general, our top law enforcement officer, looked directly into the camera and he said, due process doesn't necessarily mean judicial process. So unlike Bill Barr, who didn't side with Trump in that particular instance, Eric Holder absolutely did, and yet our government still stands, despite the fact that Obama not only did that for him, who, by the way, very likely he was a propagandist for Al-Qaeda, very likely betrayed our country, although you could try somebody in absentia. Obama didn't bother to do that. But then again, his son, who was 16 years old, was also killed, an American citizen, in another country by Obama. And again, it was under the same justification that due process doesn't equal judicial process. The difference between your flag quote and Eric Holder and Obama's actions is that Trump was in office. He did nothing about the American flag. But what we saw from the Obama administration is that they did claim and receive that power to kill Americans abroad that they deemed to be terrorists. And again, even this is not enough to be so hyperbolic and say, oh my God, democracy's quite literally on the ballot for our side.
One, Trump did try to do things to further those goals. He just didn't realize how any part of the government works because Donald Trump's a fucking moron. So initially, he thought that if he just appointed people that were strong Republicans that supported him, that they would support him in basically doing whatever he wanted them to do. That's why so many people resigned in the final days. That's why he thought that he could get Barr to go along with any plot that he wanted to. And Barr, who was a Trump loyalist through and through, eventually had to call it quits and ended up resigning. When you talk about comparing Barack Obama, trying to see if he can assassinate an American citizen or not, the question was does the president have the ability to order certain types of military strikes or assassinations on U.S. citizens? The process that Obama went through wasn't going to the Supreme Court saying, I need criminal immunity in case I want to commit crimes. It was going to the Office of Legal Counsel, and it was seeing if he thought that the President of the United States had the authority to do this and if it was in the legal clear. He never said that I'm beyond judicial review. He never asked for any amending to the Constitution, and he certainly didn't ask Congress to protect him and shield him from the liability of any of his actions. So no, it's not even remotely comparable. If Donald Trump would have gone,
he just presumed that he had the ability to do that. Like he goes to when you talk about legal counsel, those are his lawyers to come up with the justification.
You're dead wrong. You're completely wrong. You misunderstand completely the structure of government. The OLC, the White House counsels, those are not his personal lawyers. Personal lawyers.
His personal lawyers, but they're his lawyers.
They're not his lawyers. They're the President of the United States lawyers.
Which is the office that he held.
But there's an important distinction. For instance, when you say Donald Trump's lawyers, like Sidney Powell and Giuliani and Eastman, these people aren't affiliated with government. These are his personal lawyers that serve at his personal pleasure for his personal gain and benefit. When Barack Obama goes to the Office of Legal Counsel, when he confers with his Attorney General for the DOJ, he's trying to ensure that he's doing his best to stay within the bounds of the law. Donald Trump wants to change the law. Barack Obama didn't go to the Supreme Court and ask for permission to kill somebody. Donald Trump went to the Supreme Court and asked for criminal immunity so they can do what he wants.
But you actually should change the law, and he didn't ask for criminal immunity to do what he wants. He petitioned for criminal immunity because he was faced with prosecutions after he left office. He wasn't in power when he did that. Obama used the White House counsel to justify granting himself new powers, like you said, without changing a law, without consulting the judicial branch, and he just did it. He invented it whole cloth, and there was presumed immunity when he did it because he never feared any kind of prosecution for that. And by the way,
I could kill this. It's so easy. You said Barack Obama didn't fear any kind of prosecution. Then why even go to the OLC?
To get some kind of basic legal justification.
Wait. Why would he need a justification? We never fear the fact that you're saying this, and you're smarter. You know this. You went to school for criminal law, right? Why would I go and talk to a lawyer if I never thought that I would ever be criminally liable?
He talked to lawyers to do everything. Like Trump talked to lawyers before he did like what the January 6th stuff. He consulted with lawyers.
He asked lawyers to help him scheme and plot, and they said that it wouldn't work, and so he found other ones that would say he would. Barack Obama didn't go to the OLC, get a disfavorable opinion, and then find a new lawyer to tell him otherwise. It's absolutely not even remotely comparable.
Well, his White House lawyers gave him whatever paper thin justification he needed right from the jump, so he didn't have to get a second opinion.
If the justification was paper thin, then why didn't anybody with standing bring a case to the Supreme Court and have it overruled? Or why didn't Congress legislate and create a new statute to limit the powers of the executive if they felt like it was over the line? It seems like every other branch of government disagrees with you, so I don't know. I don't know what your evidence is for the fact that the justification wasn't good.
I mean, the justification is that he didn't have to seek any due process, try somebody in absentia. Like, we have precedent for this. If you're going to accuse somebody of treason, which is providing aid and comfort to our enemies, that's actually a crime in the Constitution that you would actually have to prosecute. He just executed this guy. And then his son.
The guy wasn't on American soil. He didn't just execute the dude, full stop. I mean, he was operating in his function as the commander-in-chief.
The Supreme Court has ruled that the Constitution goes wherever the U.S. government goes. Also, we are getting off the topic at hand, which is, of course, you presenting the case that Trump is going to end democracy.
Yes, he tried to end democracy. He failed, generally because Pence stood between him and democracy. And now he's picked a vice president, a new one, not the same one that he had before, who wouldn't stand between him and democracy, but he'd help him. He'd be his crony. So, yeah, I think that's pretty scary.
I would like to go back to the question that I asked before, because I do think it's relevant. I do think it's relevant to the topic. Sorry, Cam, what?
I was asking Destiny how he knows that JD Vance is going to like follow him into the pits of hell and like contest elections with him. Like,
because JD Vance said explicitly that he would have gone with him in his 2020 plot and refused to certify the electoral vote.
Where did he say that? When did he say that?
I think a couple of weeks ago, or maybe even before that.
Yeah.
Here, I'm gonna look into it.
Does anybody? I hate to contribute to the debate, but he said it during the VP like race process. He went on one of the channel news stations, and he asked, "And would you do what VP Pence wouldn't do?" And he said, "Yes, he would."
Going back to the question that I asked before, you said that it was changing the parameters of the debate for me to ask the question of, are you confident that Trump isn't going to try to scheme and try to subvert the will of the voters again in 2024? But I don't think it's moving away from the topic whatsoever. If he is ultimately successful in doing that, that will be the end of democracy. If he subverts the will of millions of voters, if he somehow finds enough loyalists to get it done this time, that would be the end of the American democratic experiment. And who the fuck knows where we go from there? So I think the question is relevant. Do you feel confident that he's not going to try to do something similar?
We don't have to prove that to be on the winning side of this argument. The burden of proof is on you to prove that democracy is on the ballot, okay? That seems to be, Destiny has no problem staying on that topic, apparently. You are the only one who wants to deviate from it, okay?
Wait.
If Trump try to do anything,
if Trump steals this election,
you have to prove that he's going to be successful in doing something.
If Trump steals this election, would that be the end of American democracy?
If he steals the election,
yes.
Sure, yeah.
So, I mean, I guess if he gets VP Harris,
he's not president though.
If he gets VP Harris to not certify the election, then I guess.
No, we're talking about corruptly influencing election officials all over the country. You have no idea how many loyalists have been installed in counties and districts all over the country.
Why didn't they come through for him in 2020 then?
A lot of them tried to.
A lot of them tried to.
And it didn't work, did it? It didn't work, did it? If you're honest with yourself, you would say, he's probably going to try to do something again. And the fact that you guys don't see he's not going to, I'm just telling you that I don't need to prove that he's not going to win this argument. You have to prove that he's going to, and he's going to be successful to win this argument.
You're also saying democracy's on the ballot, but also even if you vote for Kamala, then democracy's at risk because he's scheming. So even in that scenario, it's not really on the ballot because you're saying it's the outcome from both scenarios. Also, is it your contention that if Trump's plot to not certify the election, throw it to the House of Representatives would have occurred, that would be the end of American democracy? This is the unprecedented thing that would obliterate our system.
Nobody knows. The risk was there, though. Nobody has any idea what would have happened.
If he was successful.
Nobody has any idea what would have happened if Pence went along with his scheme. Nobody knows. Absolutely no. It would have been
let's say he went along and didn't certify. They throw it to the House of Representatives, and the House of Representatives ends up voting that Trump won the election. Do you think that's the end of our democratic system?
I think that, yes, the American democracy that has been meaningfully and forever altered, that a president was able to choose himself, entrench his own power, and circumvent the actual will of the people and the vote of the people, yes.
So, it's unprecedented, never happened before, definitely would end our system for sure.
Would it end our entire system? I don't think that life would end. I don't think the planet would be destroyed,
system,
and the country would probably.
System.
If we consider electing the president as one of the cornerstones of our democracy, then that thing has been severely damaged and potentially ended. Sure, yeah.
But what if Trump?
Of course, a cornerstone. It's of course a pillar of democracy.
Sure. Yeah, no, it's important for sure. But what if Trump was able to successfully send Republicans to various swing states and then get them to throw out ballots from Democrats because of fraud and flip those states in order to be in his camp? What if he did it to 4 states?
If he found actual fraud, then.
Well, no, whether, it was Republicans that went down in what should have been a nonpartisan process. If he was able to do that, would that have, definitely, ended our system?
That would end the American Democratic Project as we know it, and it would be something else after that. And that doesn't mean that it would, get rid of every democratic aspect moving forward, but that would be the end of the current project that we're in right now. Do you disagree with that?
Yeah, definitely. I 100% disagree with that because that already happened in the Hayes election. 3 Republicans, the Ulysses Grant's government, sent down their own people to toss out ballots from 4 states in order to get Hayes certified as the winner of the election. And then there's the Hayes Compromise, which is quite famous in our country, where the Democrats ended up giving up the presidential election that they likely would have won in order to get Union troops being pulled out of the government. So we're still considered a democracy according to you guys up until now. And that was the election of 1876. So I'm guessing even that wouldn't destroy our system.
Okay, I'm calling it as a W here then. Because now the debate has shifted to democracy is on the ballot, but is there a 1% chance or 100%
No, it's
chance that
not
it would
on the
end?
ballot.
If we're going to argue over like the percentage chance, I mean, we're never going to be able to agree on that. But like, I'm content with like, if this is where we're at, we're like, yeah, he would definitely threaten it. There's definitely like a huge risk. We just don't know like the percentage chance of him being successful.
Well, I don't know what he's going to do without even the powers of the presidency.
Well, the question would be, do we agree that he threatened democracy on his last term? Do we agree with that?
I think he tried to scheme in order to get the election, and he went further than we've seen in a very long time, and it was not great.
Hold on. Wait. I want to hear. I have to hear. I'm going to call moderator. I want an answer to that from both people. Did Donald Trump threaten democracy for his last electoral term with the way that he tried to choose who was going to win the presidency? I want an answer from both people.
No.
Cam,
oh my God.
Would you like to answer that as well?
What was the answer?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I think that he deployed some like esoteric like legal bullshit, and it didn't work, and democracy still exists. And I think that, as Sean pointed out, random esoteric legal schemes like this have been deployed in the past, and democracy continued to exist. We're not shifting the debate to a different topic. We never conceded that Trump is like.
So yes or no? What are we at?
Democracy. We're still holding you to like you have to prove that he's going to overthrow democracy. Obviously, it's the premise of the debate.
Wait, okay, so do we think he did or he didn't? Like, was he with threat? Did he threaten democracy in his last presidential term or no?
No, I would say absolutely not.
Okay, so we both say no. Okay, so we think that it was okay. You both think, you're both on board. You think it was okay. It was within the bounds of what's acceptable in our system, a good faith interpretation of our laws, of our structure, of our order, for Donald Trump to try to illegitimately insert false electors and have the vice president switch the results of the election. We think that that's an okay thing.
You're just like deploying a false dichotomy on us, right? We never said that because it wasn't a threat to democracy that it was necessarily a good thing, right? Neither of us actually. I think I actually started.
When I say a
saying
good
that it was
thing,
a bad thing, right?
When I
we
say
never said it
good,
was a good thing.
Okay. When I say good, I mean good as in it comports with the best faith interpretation of our system.
I know. We don't have to agree to that either. We can say that it's a bad faith interpretation of the system, but that doesn't mean that it's a threat to democracy. Saying that it's not a threat to democracy does not imply that we think it's a good faith attempt to interpret.
Okay, wait. Do you think the vice president trying to change the results of the election? Do you think that is a threat to our democracy? Do you think that's democratic?
Wait. I never said that it was. Again, I never said that.
I didn't say good.'re on the last one. I'm asking you, with the vice president being told by the president to pick him as the leader again, to make him win the election, is that an attack on our democracy, or would that be acceptable?
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't have to like say that it's not an attack on democracy, but as Sean pointed out, that it's happened in the past, and democracy still exists. Democracy is not on the
That's
ballot.
what I'm asking.
That specific attack, as you put it, did not overthrow democracy. If it was successful, it wouldn't have overthrown democracy. We would have still had democracy. And like, you can talk about like bad faith. Like politicians act in bad faith all the time, right?
No, they don't. Nope, not like this. You're wrong.
They do.
Nope.
Absolutely, they do. The Inflation Reduction Act is bad faith, lying about.
Absolutely. Oh my God! Don't even go there. I don't want to
deflect a different policy, but
I will say, AJW, Hutch did try to interject first, so I do want to give him a chance to talk. Then we'll go back to you, and then I have a question for everybody.
Well, I was going to say to Cam, when you say like he deployed some esoteric, what exactly did you say there?
Yeah, like I'm gonna think that he probably did pretty much the same thing that they did to him, but he did it first, right? He deployed some like esoteric legal theory and tried to like find loopholes so that he could remain in office. I don't have to concede.
When you say that he did the same thing that was done to him, are you referring to people that were in the congressional halls on January 6th in 2016 when Biden was certifying the election? What are you equating that with?
What do you mean? What am I equating that with?
You said that he did the same thing to them that they did to him. What do you mean by that?
I think that Democrats, like in their own states, have deployed like esoteric legal theories against Trump. Yeah, for sure. But that's just a passing comment, right? I don't have to like I don't know what you're saying. Like, why are you talking about January 6th?
Well, when have you ever seen a Democrat politician engage in the months-long sort of scheming that Trump was in a multi-pronged effort in like several swing states, and then incite a mob to storm the Capitol and then watch them for 3 hours before asking them to leave? Have you ever seen a Democrat do anything like that before?
So I'm gonna fundamentally reject the idea that he incited the mob. First of all, second of all, like I don't need to like show you that Democrats have done this to like the same extent, right? But Democrats have actually absolutely contested elections. Al Gore did it in 2000. John Kerry did it in 2004. And Hillary Clinton.
Why are you lying?
I'm not.
Those contested elections those happened in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said no, and then it ended. That was it.
Wait. No. I'm not talking about like legal proceedings. I'm talking about like rhetoric. Like John Kerry went on a whole
No one cares about rhetoric. We're talking about Donald Trump scheming involving officials,
Destiny,
involving unofficial people. Yes, that was part of what happened on January 6th. He incited a riot. Yes, that's what happened.
He didn't incite a riot. He did not incite a riot.
He did.
His entire campaign was run on like, look at the BLM people. They're rioting, and we're the party or the ticket of law and order. That was the entire.
Yeah, that didn't happen. Yeah, but what happened on January 6th? That wasn't law and order, was it?
No shit, it wasn't law and order, Destiny. Nobody said that it was law and order, but you have to prove that that's what Trump wanted them to do.
Yeah,
which I think is all the evidence not in your favor.
The evidence while it's happening is Donald Trump sat and watched TV. He didn't do anything to call any of the people off. He wouldn't make a tweet to tell the people to go home.
All right, let's go through the timeline. Let's go through the timeline. Let's go through the timeline real quick. Let's go through the timeline. Okay. 12:53 p.m., 19 minutes before Trump ended his speech, rioters overran the perimeter. At 2 p.m., the Capitol went on lockdown as the first rioters breached the building. At 2:38, Trump tweeted, "Please support our Capitol Police and law enforcement. They are truly on the side of our country. Stay peaceful." This was 2 hours after the perimeter ran, but only 38 minutes, roughly, according to CNN, after they first breached the building. Okay, around 2:45 p.m.
Wait. Do you think that? Wait. Do you think? Wait. Hold on. Do you want to go through the? Hold on. Wait. Do you want to go through the timeline or not? Wait. Do you want to go
to remain peaceful?
Do you want to go through the timeline? Do you want to go? Wait. Let's go through the timeline. Hold on. Why would you tweet? Please support our Capitol Police and law enforcement. They are truly on the side of our country. Stay peaceful if they're not peaceful. They haven't been peaceful for an hour and a half.
Encouraging them to be peaceful.
While they're already rioting? What are you talking about? They're not peaceful. They've already broken in.
Destiny? Oh my God.
No. If the goal was to de-escalate, why was Ivanka? Why was his son? Why were lawmakers? Why was everybody calling Donald Trump?
You asked me a question. I'm going to answer the question. Destiny, you asked me a question. Now I'm going to answer the question. So why might Trump tweet, "Remain peaceful and respect our law enforcement," while his people that he has immense influence over are actively like fighting against police officers and being violent? Because he's trying to take advantage of the violence.
He wanted them to do it.
I'm sorry, I can't hear anything. I would like to have Destiny respond, and then I do want to go to actual Justice for it because he's been waiting patiently.
He wanted them to be violent. Also, you very conveniently skipped over that at around 2:15, people were outside saying, hang Mike Pence, as they were already broken through the restricted zone. And then at 2:24, Donald Trump tweeted, Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and our Constitution, giving states a chance to certify a corrected set of facts. The USA demands the truth. Do you agree that that tweet was encouraging the violence that was already going on?
No. Do you have any evidence that Trump knew about the like hanging thing? And also, if I one second. Also, if I put on I don't know, a Kamala Harris 2024 hat and I go and put up like a gallows of JD Vance, does that immediately implicate Kamala Harris?
No, but if Kamala Harris saw it, if Kamala Harris saw it and she was sitting there watching it on TV as it was happening, and she sat and watched TV for 3 hours while BLM people broke into the Capitol building, and when people came up to her, they were begging her to call them off or begging her to make them stop. She was like, you know what? Maybe they deserve it. Fuck them. Then I'd say, you know what? Kind of seems like she does want that to happen.
You making the connection that Trump was watching TV?
Actual Justice has been waiting for a little bit, so do you want to throw it over to him?
Yeah, nobody disputes that there was actually, I shouldn't say nobody. Nobody here disputes that there was a riot on the Capitol on January 6th. But the idea that Trump incited it by telling them to go over and peacefully protest.
He never said that.
Okay, well, at the end of his speech, he did, but okay.
No, he didn't. He did. He said that 20 minutes into the speech, he said, I know you'll be marching peacefully. That wasn't anywhere near the end of his speech.
Whatever.
He spent an hour and 15 minutes long. It is whatever. Because the last things he said were, we're going to fight like hell.
You win greatest factoid award. I got you.
I know. Being factually correct isn't really popular with conservatives, but we kind of like doing it sometimes. I know.
It's fine. Whatever. That's fine. Anyway, so yeah, the plan was, again, for anybody who wasn't paying attention, and it's a dumb plan, it was based on an insane interpretation of the Electoral Count Act, was for these people to protest at the Capitol and put pressure on officials to not certify the election so that it could be kicked to the Congress, which they would then vote based on one vote per state, and the Republicans had more majorities in more states in order to give him the election. The idea that the plan was for them to riot and like threaten to kill people and all that is just not true. It's ridiculous. And if Trump's goal was to take the government by force, he probably wouldn't send a bunch of absolute idiots into the Capitol to do so. He might think about using his power as commander-in-chief to order the military to do that. So yeah, like he encouraged people to protest. He encouraged them to advocate for an insanely stupid interpretation of the Electoral Count Act. We haven't even gotten into his interpretation of how you can do alternate electors, which were fraudulent electors. All of that was horrible stuff. For sure.
Yeah, just be clear. There was no
inexcusable stuff. All that is illegal stuff from his legal team, and he should not have done that. That being said, this was not the end of democracy, and the idea that he planned to have them steal Nancy Pelosi's podium to take the presidency is ridiculous.
Nobody's saying that he specifically wanted them to break into Nancy Pelosi's office. What we're saying is, and Cam, you left something out of your timeline. He arrived at the White House at 1:20 p.m. He went into the White House dining room at 1:25 p.m. He did put out 2 tepid tweets as cops were being brutalized and they were breaking into the Capitol. He put out 2 tepid tweets saying, stay peaceful during a riot while people were literally dying. And it took him almost 3 hours to come out with a statement asking them to go home. And this was after he had several aides and family members begging him to make a post asking them to leave. He refused to do it for 3 hours.
So wait, before we go to anybody responding, Lauren Southern has just messaged the staff here, and apparently she wants back in. But because, of course, she dropped out and now she wants back in, I need to ask the people on here, because it's your guys' show, since you're the guests. Do you want her back?
I'm fine with that.
I'm okay.
I'm fine with that.
Cam?
Sure.
Okay. Danabo, you heard him. You guys can continue.
We keep saying interpretation of ECA also. This wasn't an interpretation of the ECA. It was saying we don't think the ECA is legal, so we're just going to ignore the ECA. That was the quote-unquote interpretation. Okay.
No, the interpretation was that the vice president can certify it, therefore he can like not certify the election and then throw it to the Congress. Like that was the whole point.
No, the whole point was him saying that the ECA is not legal. We don't believe in the ECA. That was the whole point. That's why every time they say constitutional, they refer to the 12th Amendment. They're saying that they think that the 12th Amendment supersedes the ECA, and the ECA is unconstitutional. That's why they.
Pence had his own White House counsel that told him, "You cannot do this. This is not an option." And Pence tried to communicate this to Trump over and over and over and over again, and it just didn't get through. Trump was asking him to do something that Pence's own lawyers were telling him, "This is unconstitutional. You do not have that option."
Also, hold on, just by definition, definitionally, if Trump would have succeeded and would have stayed in office and then now he's about to leave office, would you be saying then that like it wasn't a threat to democracy and democracy didn't end?
Yeah, that's what I said for the Hayes election. It didn't end.
Okay, wait. So we can say that even if the president would have flipped the election and stay in office, democracy. So what would be the counting of ending democracy to you then? Do we have to show that it's going to be like an apocalypse?
I mean, presumably there would be another election in that scenario. Like, I mean, a lot of people argue that Gore won Florida and that Bush was installed by the Supreme Court with a ridiculous decision that they said was not precedent.
That didn't answer my question at all.
Did withhold that.
Like it's probably gonna be like precedent that like there's not elections in the future, or that Trump is choosing who gets to be elected, or that like executive members of the government are choosing who gets elected. I've heard you call Trump a dictator like 100 times on your stream. So maybe something along those lines.
Yeah, because he says things like a dictator, right? When Trump says a massive fraud of this type of magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution, that's dictator talk. And when Donald Trump says, I would be a dictator on day one, that's dictator talk.
Oh, come on, Destiny.
Okay.
That was a joke and you know it.
Wait, I do want to ask, I've been waiting to ask this question. I hate to cut off here, but this is something that's been on my mind. So there seems to be a divide about one side saying like, you have to prove 100% that this election is going to be the end of democracy. If democracy is on the ballot, then, Trump wins and democracy's over. That's what we would have to prove. The other side seems to be saying, well, we can't prove that 100%. We can't know the future, but that it's at risk. If there was like, say, some other country and there was a person who got elected and then they degraded institutions and then further elections, it got worse and worse and worse. Would we not say that election where that person started that process was a threat to democracy? I know you'd have to look back, but the question is, does it have to be an all or nothing for the question?
Move the goalposts.
No. I'm happy to move the goalpost. If we want to talk about like threats to democracy rather than democracy ending and democracy being on the ballot, I'll take like a point blank concession from everybody on the panel who disagrees with me.
Okay, wait. So just curious. Let's say Donald Trump finds a way to appoint his son as the next president, but like everything else continues as normal. Would we say that the democracy ended, or is it still democracy?
If he appointed his son the next president,
yeah,
then that would be the end of our like electoral system.
What's the difference between him appointing his son versus him like flipping and choosing himself as the winner after January 6th?
Well, if you're doing like a contested election where we have a process for it, which, but again, I don't buy into this.
It wasn't a contested election and the process was exhausted. That's
first of all, it was literally like, did Trump have a good case? No. But was it contested? Yeah, that's what all the court cases were about.
No, and they were settled. It was over. There was no big contested.
Okay. All right, well, we're going to argue over the definition of contested, but that's different from saying my son is the president after me. Like, do you not understand that?
No, I don't at all. Okay, explain it to me. What's the difference? Donald Trump lost the election fair and square. The Americans and the states voted against him, and he tried to change that outcome in the Congress. Why would it be different if he did it for him or for his son?
If you appoint your son, you're saying if his son was on the ballot and then he lost and then they had like the same argument and then they ended up using this technique to get his son, is that what you're saying?
Too much on the technique. You seem to be saying that even if the president was elected illegitimately, he appointed himself the next ruler. You're saying democracy isn't over. So in that case, I'm just wondering
the specifics matter. So like, I'm asking
if you violate the election and you choose unilaterally to make yourself the next president or make somebody else the next president, you're saying democracy isn't over.
It depends on what. So you're saying if Don Jr. runs like Trump did and ends up in the same situation, and then that plot actually works, is that what you're asking? Or are you just saying he comes into, like, he just appoints his son the next president? Like,
I'm saying, let's say he's president this time. Let's say that his son runs, and let's say that his son loses the election, but he runs the same scheme, and he manages to make it so that so that his son actually wins because this time JD Vance goes along with it. Is that like the end of democracy, or what is that?
Okay, quickly, we've also added Pondering in order to balance it out because Hippy Dippy, it's supposed to have a balance, 3v3. If it's, Cam Higby and that's the reason why he's here, explaining that. Okay.
Welcome in here, brother.
What up?
Lauren, nice to meet you. We've never spoke.
Hello, everybody. Nice to meet you.
Do you have any thoughts?
I haven't been listening. I've been trying to figure out text. I'm gonna have to sit and catch up on what's going on, but I'm sure all the liberals are incorrect here.
I'm happy you could make it. I'm happy we're getting, man, it's a 3v3 now. Now it's an even bigger event. Huzzah.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I'm just curious, what is the minimum threshold then from the other side? Since apparently the president unilaterally deciding that he's going to remain president, that's not destroying democracy. What is like our minimum threshold that we're looking at here for like major threat to democracy?
Sorry, can you explain, since I just got in here, what do you mean by the president unilaterally deciding he's going to remain president? Are you just...
So Sean and Camby seem to be of the impression that if the president were to find a way to remain president and circumvent the will of the voters, that wouldn't actually be the end of democracy or a threat to democracy. So we're trying to figure out like, well, what exactly is what would we have to...
This is like a hypothetical.
Yes.
Not, okay.
Yeah, he's just trying to establish the threshold, what constitutes a threat to democracy.
Wait, Sean, what's your argument there? Because I think...
well, first of all, they keep saying threat to democracy, but they're the ones who are saying democracy's on the ballot, that it's going to end if Trump were to win. Now Steven's asking this question, but he won't clarify exactly how, like, his son is supposed to be the president. If he hands the presidency like a throne to his son, then yes, that would be a monarchy, and that would be the end of democracy.
So I could be talking out my ass. I don't know if Dylan sent you all an email.
Wait, hold on, I'm sorry, wait, hold on, I'm sorry, I need to clarify. The process doesn't matter. The question is very simple.
It actually does matter.
No, hold on. The thing is if the leader chooses the next leader in opposition to what the people choose, it doesn't matter how, we're assuming some extra legal manner, okay? So if the leader chooses the next leader against the will of the people, you seem to be saying that that's not really a threat to democracy, as long as like the presidential election the next time goes back to normal.
The end of democracy.
So what do we have to prove here? That democracy is ending? If democracy is on the ballot...
I want to know what the method that Trump's going to overthrow democracy is, because you're saying January 6th, but he can't even be on the ballot.
We're not talking about the method.
You just asked me a separate question, and now you're avoiding this other point when I just asked.
Why should we have to explain that?
Okay, I want to appeal to the moderator. Dylan, tell me, okay, because now it seems like we have an unpassable bar, because we've said that what if the president finds a way to remain in power, and they're saying, oh, well, even if that would happen, that doesn't seem to necessarily be a threat to democracy, even if he does it with extra legal whatever means, as long as it goes back to normal afterwards. So I don't even know what the threshold is of what we're trying to prove now.
are you asking me like what was my intent with the question? Is that what you're asking me?
No, did you ever clarify? Yeah.
Okay. Would you like to define it? And then after we're gonna go to pondering.
Who are you talking to, Dylan?
I was asking actual Justice Warrior.
As everybody's
That's just you. That's just you, Sean. He was talking to you. He says, "Do you want to define it?"
Oh, define what? I wasn't listening.
The end of democracy.
Oh, so first of all, yes, like in terms of a threat, which is not what we're talking about, yes, this would be a problem because it could become a norm. But again, this strategy actually worked. And you talk about handing it over to the next guy. This happened in the election of 1876. Like it led to the Hayes Compromise, which is absolutely disastrous, where they ended up sacrificing the civil liberties of Black Americans in order to get the presidency in an election that was incredibly sketchy, that most historians still say that they can't determine who won. But because that didn't become a pattern, then our system was able to endure it. So yeah, it's a risk, it's a threat. But again, you're saying democracy is on the ballot. It is going to be ended if Trump won.
Where does that follow? See, that's where I'm confused. Unless Dylan sent some sort of like clarifying email out there. When I say is democracy on the ballot, I mean if Trump is elected with 100% certainty, democracy ends, as in there are no more elections. Yeah. That is a ridiculous. You can't even put forward.
You can't even put forward.
That is a category.
I can't hear anything. I can't hear anything. Pondering, you want to say that one more time, and then we'll have one person respond.
So again, I wasn't an initial like invitee to this, so maybe there was like an email clarifying what the hell ballot democracy on the ballot means. But just that phrase does not at all imply that if Donald Trump is elected, it's 100% guaranteed that there will be no more future elections. It's ridiculous. Stephen gave you an example all the way back to the very fucking beginning about how President Obama campaigned on closing Guantanamo Bay. Ergo, you could say that Guantanamo Bay was on the ballot. It's still here, even though Obama was elected twice. So it's just a ridiculously bad faith interpretation because you can't defend. You know you can't defend that Donald Trump
where's the campaign promise to end democracy?
Wait one second.
So now it's got to be an explicit campaign plan.
That's what you
I'm going to mute.
That's what you just cited.
Well, no, you said that it has to be a fact.
Lauren Southern, you wanted to respond to it, and you haven't spoken yet, so I wanted to throw it to you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. No, I was very clear. It was Counterpoints, Connor, that reached out to me to join this debate. When he initially told me the subject, whether democracy was on the ballot or not, which to me seems like a pretty clear question, but I asked for clarification to him because I said, I'm not sure there's going to be much disagreement here unless it is literally a black and white question of they think democracy is going to come to an end if Trump is elected. And he said, yeah, that is the debate that we're having. So that was the impression I was under when I came into here. I imagine Sean and I had a conversation yesterday about this conversation, and we were like, man, that's a pretty bizarre position, but I guess that's what they're taking. But if you're not taking that, then we are absolutely happy to have you cede the debate at this point that democracy is not, in fact,
well, Stephen Hutch. What was your interpretation? Well, hang on. I'm sorry. Just real quick. Can you clarify that? Was that your interpretation of the prompt? Because I don't think either of you will say with 100% certitude that Donald Trump will end democracy if he is elected.
Well, okay. Can I? No. Well, the thing. Can I clarify? I mean, I wrote the question. I guess I should clarify what I meant if this wasn't communicated. I didn't necessarily mean that we know for 100% certain that Trump is going to end democracy. At least that's what I wrote it. That couldn't have been communicated. I just generally meant that, like, democracy, the issue of democracy, like, could it be genuinely affected by this election? For example, like the institutions that hold up our democratic world, like our democratic institutions being crippled or undermined, making it so in future elections.
Why are we doing this? Why are you explaining this? This is retarded.
Because I was
using their
definitions.
No, hold on. Using their definitions, and they would all agree with this. If you were to elect literally God Emperor resurrected Stalin Hitler, and he were to destroy American democracy for 1 year, and then we were to come back and survive and be okay, they would say, oh, then that wasn't a threat.
Yeah,
that
was
just
destroy
democracy. That didn't destroy democracy.
I don't believe I've ever taken that position, sir.
That Stalin God Hitler is going to come back and like destroy democracy for a year. Like we reject that that's going to happen, right? So like if I say abortion is on the ballot this year, what does that mean to you? To me, abortion on the ballot means that there's one party who is promising that they will ban abortion, and there is one party that is promising they will make it accessible to people. Abortion is on the ballot. Depending on who you vote for, you will have different abortion access. If I say democracy is on the ballot, what that means to me is that if I vote for the wrong candidate, democracy will cease to exist.
Well, can I?
Do you think?
Wait,
On
the moderator. Wait,
standard.
hold on a second. I just want to ask. So just clarify for definitional reasons. Would that mean if somebody said abortion is on the ballot, that means like the options is abortion is gone this election, or everybody can abort everything forever?
No, obviously not. He kind of tacitly conceded that if abortion's on the ballot, it doesn't guarantee that if a certain person is elected, that abortion will become federal law of the land or will be outlawed. He fucking knows it, which is why he moved the goalpost a bit. Okay, sure. Abortion.
That's exactly what they're running on.
But there's also myriad pieces of legislation that could serve as like a middle ground between those two possible outcomes that you're not even like.
Here's the question: Does abortion only mean it is completely illegal in every single circumstance, or it's full term, 9-month, right up until the baby's completely out of the vagina, you can shoot it in the head, it's a-okay, or is there a whole middle
when
ground?
They say abortion, they're obviously talking about elective abortions, right? So what you do when you say that is you're creating a dichotomy that one party will give it to you and one party will take it away from you.
There's not even a dichotomy in the Democratic Party. What are you talking about?
Then just concede to the point and we'll move on. Then concede.
No, it's not a concession. You're being...
No, I know it's not a concession. I'm asking you.
Do you think? Hold on. Do you think that abortion? Do you think the issue? Do you think that there is a dichotomy on the issue of abortion, on the issue of gun control? Do you think there's a dichotomy on that?
When we talk about abortion colloquially, we're obviously talking about elective abortions by and large. So when you say abortion on the ballot, talking about elective abortions,
is it a 6-week abortion? Is it an 8-week abortion? Is it a 10-week abortion? Is it 12?
This is actual retardation. Oh my god!
Yeah. I wanna pull back this abortion thing for a second. All right, so like my issue, and I gave you guys a way easier out than like prove 100%.
We don't need an out.
The gum is gonna. Well, I mean, you kind of do because
no, we don't. Your interpretation is ridiculous.
And this is what we got. So like this.
Fucking guy who created the prompt, Sean, disagrees with you. That's the thing.
Okay,
you can appeal to Lauren. I can appeal to the guy who
the author
created the
theory.
prompt.
Look into it.
But
anyway,
wait, let me just be clear.
Question was, do you have a?
Okay. I just want to clarify. That was how I wrote the question. Like, you can still argue, like, hey, Trump 100% needs to end democracy. You need to prove that, and that's the standard I want to hold. But that's what I meant when I wrote the question.
I have the receipts. From
counterpoints, maybe, but counterpoints might have interpreted my question incorrectly. But that's always I was the one who wrote the question.
Can we not entertain this argument that whether or not something's on the ballot means it's a binary choice? Nobody in the real world believes this. These people don't believe this. Like nobody. Why are we letting the conservatives gaslight us into this super fucking position?
Let's move on to what
retarded
intended when he wrote the question. Just concede that that you do not know that Trump is going to be a dictator, and let's move on.
If somebody says that immigration is on the ballot, does that mean that you either have open borders or no immigration? Is that what it means when immigration is on the ballot? It's either open borders or no immigration.
Oh my God! Let the lady talk. Rude.
Okay, Lauren Southern.
I literally was like, I'm down for the debate, but I just want to clarify. The topic is definitely, in quotes, if Trump is elected, it is the end of democracy, correct? And he said, we went back and forth. Yes, I will solidify this. And then Danabo, is democracy on the ballot 2024? So it was just, I was just reiterated the same thing. Yes, is democracy on the ballot? But I went and I was like, hey, I just want to clarify.
The question is democracy on the ballot?
It's the end of democracy.
But
right?
you lured us here under false pretenses, just like that man who offered me candy in the back.
I didn't mean to lure you under false pretenses.
We've established that nothing can ever be. No, I think it's good. No, I think it's good because we've established that literally nothing can ever be on the ballot in any election ever, like any issue whatsoever, because you can't preordain a particular outcome. Abortion is on the ballot in this particular election, but no matter who wins, you can't guarantee, like if Vice President Harris wins, we can't guarantee that abortion will become law of the land. That's the goal. That's something they strive towards, but we can't guarantee it. The standard you all created out of thin air is just fucking stupid.
It wasn't out of thin air. We asked for clarification, but also I will point out that I asked for after the fact, after I'm in the van, but I just pointed out I asked for like a plausible scenario of like how he was going to do this, and you guys all screamed at me. Like, I mean, come on.
The plausible scenario.
Like, I was being really nice about that.
Let's start the question then on a level playing field, and let me ask it like this, because this is a question AJW had. Is there, because let's say you could say, okay, Donald Trump has some anti-democratic tendencies, but we have strong institutions. What is the plausible scenario that he could actually hurt American democracy so much that it could cause its end?
Yes, Dylan, can you resolve the previous topic first?
No. When the question is democracy,
should I resolve the topic? I can't resolve.
No. Like, can we get a resolution? Like, can they concede and then we can move on to the next topic?
We're not conceding. No, absolutely not.
All right. So then why are we moving on?
When somebody says is democracy on the ballot, the question is meaning, obviously, if we elect a person, is there going to be a significant departure from what our currently understood democratic norms are? That's what we're talking about, right? That's what it means. That's what everybody understood that question to mean. That's what any reasonable human being would understand that question to mean, okay? So then the question is will Donald Trump do things that we would consider a significant departure from American democratic values, okay? And the answer we would say is yes.
When I get asked to a piano recital, I ask, where do I sit? What do I need to do? And that's what Lauren did for this conversation. So when there's confusion, you ask for clarification. Then we receive clarification on it. And now you're mad at us for going based on the information that we were told when we were lured into the back of your van. So, like, I don't know why you're getting all mad because you didn't act for clarification. I mean,
my bad. Can we agree on this then? Hitler was not a threat to German democracy because they went back to being a democracy. Can you agree with that?
They completely changed the government over there.
No, they went back. Wait. Germany went back. Germany went back. Germany's fine today, right? Do you agree that Germany's fine today?
Destiny, you're. Oh my God.
Answer that. I need an answer to that. No. Don't pivot. Answer that question.
I'm not pivoting. I'm not pivoting, Destiny.
He's pivoting. Let me know when it's done, and I'm going to ask the question.
Don't even know what I'm going to say because I haven't said it.
Cam, you can answer the question, and then you can ask your question that you wanted to ask. And then I want to actually come back to the question I asked because I posed it, and it is a question.
Okay, great. Okay, so in the case of Germany, Germany had a dictator that rose to power and degraded the democratic systems that the country previously had. Okay,
you're not even right. Hitler did not rise to dictator. Hitler didn't rise to dictator. Can we just go on to the next thing? You don't know history.
Wait, stop.
Okay. You don't know what we're talking about.
Okay, Destiny, you've established he doesn't know what he's talking about. Let him write his alt history.
Great. I don't know what I'm talking about. Are you happy, Destiny? Okay, great. So it took a regime fall for democracy to return to Germany and several decades of Western occupation in Germany for that democracy to be restored to Germany. Okay, so that's not what happened in the Rutherford B. Hayes case that Sean cited earlier, where this exact thing that you're claiming will overthrow democracy happened, and it resulted in democracy continuing on to today. Clearly, you agree that democracy exists today. Otherwise, you wouldn't be arguing that it's on the ballot.
Democracy in Germany exists today. You just proved Destiny's point. The idea that democracy is only threatened if it's permanently ended is fucking stupid. Now you're moving the goalpost again.
We're saying that it will happen without a regime.
If there's a decades-long gap in between democracy and dictatorship, that's something else.
Yeah. All right. So do you think that there's a meaningful difference? I'm just going to ask you of having external governments overthrow your dictatorship and then install a democratic government in half your country, by the way, because the Soviet Union took over the other half, or at least, whatever. They split the country, but. Do you think there's a meaningful difference between that and then an election that's contested, that has this stupid electors thing, and then a corrupt compromise that's one of the stains on American history, but then the next election functions as normal? Do you understand that there's a difference?
Okay, I understand there's a difference, so there's no threat. Then do you agree that the Civil War wasn't a threat to democracy? Because that was in another country, right?
Is the Civil War? That's actually an interesting question.
No, it's not. They weren't another country. They weren't. They didn't have the legal right to secede. Just because you say you do doesn't mean you do.
Democracy, if these people wanted to secede, and then they ended up going to war with the other half of the country.
Nope.
I don't know.
Wasn't another country. You defined it as external country, external occupation.
A conflict from within the country about whether or not you could break apart. That's actually an interesting question.
No, it's not. Hold on. No, it's very easy to solve. We came back immediately after Reconstruction, everything. We're good. Boom. So it wasn't a threat, right? Say that. The Civil War wasn't a threat to democracy. It didn't end democracy. It was. Yeah,
but what you're failing to realize is that the Civil War.
I want to hear the answer to that. The Civil War didn't end democracy. Say that. So the Civil War didn't end democracy, right?
It's not analogous.
Why? No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be. It didn't end
democracy.
democracy.
Matters. You're posing an analogy. It has to be analogous. Holy shit.
I'm just saying, if
the Civil War was a military uprising. Trump attempted to do this in a civil manner, manipulating laws in the United States. As Sean pointed out, again, it's happened before. If Trump wanted to overthrow the government with the military, like what happened in the Civil War, he would have done it, but he didn't.
That's not true. There's a whole number of reasons.
Where does it say?
Hold on, wait. I need you to accept that the Civil War didn't end democracy. So democracy was never on the ballot when it came to the Civil War because it didn't end democracy.
Well, that's why it's an interesting question, because after the Civil War, there was an occupation of the South by Union troops to suppress their democratic ambitions because they wanted a bunch of crazy stuff. So
I think the ridiculousness and bad faith.
It really did kind of cut off it really did kind of cut off this like popular movement to separate from the country. Like it was definitely a threat to the country, but like I'm not like that's why it's an interesting question, because these people wanted to leave the nation, and like theoretically if they voted democratically they might have like gotten their way if it was based on a ballot initiative. So
if
like,
we were having a debate before the Civil War, if we were having a debate before the Civil War and somebody were to say, do you think if we had a civil war, would that be a threat to democracy? Would your answer be yes or no?
It depends on the nature of the Civil War. If you're fighting over like voting to leave the country, like is it undemocratic to force them to stay? Like I think it's the right thing to force them to stay, even though it might be undemocratic. That's why I have to think about it.
Is Russia a democracy?
No. Well,
why not? They vote, don't they? Okay, yeah. So Russia's a democracy. So nothing
like
is a
rigged
threat to
elections
democracy.
where they kill the opposition people, like and
rigged elections. Wait, so do rigged elections make you not a democracy? Careful, you know where I'm going with this.
Well, I mean, well, yeah, if you rig an election like consistently to get like this 97% or whatever vote.
Okay, so wait. So then if there's a new president, if there's a new president after Putin, then we would say that all along it was a democracy because it went back, right? As long as there's a Democratic president elected at some point in the future.
If they have a new dictator after he dies, then
no. Let's say it's a Democratic elected president after Putin dies. So then it was just a temporary departure. It's not it goes back to being a democracy, right? So in '91, Putin and everybody else, like that democracy was never on the ballot.
I couldn't tell you if the Russian Federation was like a legit democracy to start out with or not. Like I'm not that read up on Russian history, but I would assume it depends on the structure of their government. If they like turn into a democracy, then they're a democracy. If that makes sense. But what was that question? Well, you're like the next guy gets elected, but if he gets elected and then like he's the president for like 2 decades or whatever, like then that's probably not legit. I would assume.
From the perspective of someone who engages in politics from like a liberal perspective, it's been frustrating to watch right-wing pundits come up. The best defense that they come up with for Trump was that, yeah, he may try to like stress test democracy, but our institutions will hold. And to people like myself, I think I'll speak for Destiny and Josiah, that just seems like completely untenable. Why would you even allow someone to have that opportunity in the first place?
Yeah, the thing we hear all the time is that the guardrails hold. And it's like this idea that you have a friend who drives his Ford F-150 into the guardrails on a highway, and then you toss him a fresh set of fucking keys. The guardrails held.
That's not the argument we're making. That's the premise of the debate, and we're holding you to it. We're not. That's not our only defense of Trump, right? I mean, me personally, like I came into this like literally 30 minutes, or not 30 minutes, but I was warned 3 hours in advance. So like, yeah, I don't have like an elaborate like defense of Trump that I'm going to deploy against Destiny right now. So I'm holding to the standard of the debate.
Am I allowed to hop in here?
Sure.
May I be permitted?
You are permitted.
Okay, so obviously there's been a lot of talk about the electors scandal here, and I get that, we can concede that was a stress test to democracy, probably naughty. But what would Trump, like, realistically in this upcoming term, like, he could not run again afterwards. What is your guys' argument for how he will deconstruct democracy if he were to win an election this upcoming?
Trump could pressure every single part of his cabinet or administration to launch fake investigations into his political opponents. Because now the Supreme Court has granted him full criminal immunity from any conversations he has with his cabinet about things that might result in their firing. So that could be one big thing.
We also have to talk about Trump reshaping the GOP in his image. Like, he's been really successful at pushing out politicians who don't bend the knee and sort of like bend their will to him. So the very makeup of the legislation.
The American system, then, if that's something the president is able to do, wouldn't that
that's the point. The
president wasn't supposed to be able to do it, but because of the weird Supreme Court shit, now for some reason he's able to.
So now Kamala can do that as well. So is it really a question of whether democracy is on the line, or is it already lost in your opinion?
Well, the difference is that when Democrats do bad things, they don't go to the Supreme Court and beg for criminal immunity or go in front of the civil court and say we lied.
As if it's a given for every Democrat that will ever exist in human history. Obviously, it's not.
We haven't seen one abuse it yet, because Donald Trump pardoned every single crony fuck that worked with him, and Biden is literally watching his son get convicted.
Doesn't mean it won't happen.
Lauren, respectfully.
He'll probably pardon Hunter Biden, if we're being honest, when the election is over. Like,
you think he will? You think he'll pardon his son?
I think that's quite likely.
He could have pardoned his son from the beginning. He could have fired David Weiss. He could have done anything.
Basic standard and practice is unpopular pardons happen when you're a lame duck and it's the end of the election. Like that's obviously what goes down.
He had like 3 or 4 different
ways.
ways.
Just for democracy, prosecuting your political opponent, and by the way,
he didn't prosecute his political opponent. What are you talking about?
He has a special counsel for the classified documents.
There's no evidence that Biden was involved at any step of the way in any of these special counsel, in any of the
that is true.
No evidence whatsoever that Biden was involved with that.
Yeah, nobody said that. So
did the special counsel spring up out of
you probably weren't paying attention.
Wait, stop. Wait, no. It's too much. I can't hear anything because everybody's talking at the same time. Okay, so the question was, I saw something posted by AJW, but let's finish the conversation first about the feasibility of Trump attacking democracy before we move on to the idea of are Democrats prosecuting Trump, and is that an attack on democracy? So first, the feasibility. Destiny, you were hitting on this earlier, and I wanted to go to Hutch because he hasn't had much time to speak about what feasible plan could Trump employ that makes you scared about our democracy.
Yeah, I already said it. He could pressure his cabinet officials to do whatever they can in their capacity to arrest and jail political opponents and fabricate charges for him if he wants to.
Hutch?
I mean, to expand on that, I like Donald Trump. It is a full-on cult of personality. If you do not swear loyalty to him and the MAGA movement, he will do everything in his power to make sure that you don't win your next election and you don't belong in the Republican Party anymore. And we've just seen that more and more. The House, if we just look at the chaos in the House, ousting their speaker for the first time in history, and you have characters like Marjorie Taylor Greene who are elevated to extreme positions of influence within the party. She's one of the party's highest fundraisers. She's on 2 subcommittee hearings, and she is fucking insane. So, I don't know if you can necessarily say that there's like this grave immediate threat, but the impact on the legislative branch over time of it being corrupted by Trump-like people who rise to prominence because of him, who knows what that leads to in the future. I don't even think it's on me to tell you like a really detailed, specific plan of what I think is going to happen to corruptly influence things moving forward. I can just speak in generalities.
Quickly to Pondering before we go to the conservatives for response. Conservatives, right-wingers, libertarians, whatever you define yourself. Pondering.
Well, because even the plan that he tried to enact in 2020 was, I mean, just prima facie ridiculous, which is why so many people in his own Justice Department was like, this is fucking stupid. So even any like sort of plan that we could potentially devise would sound categorically ridiculous, but it didn't stop him from attempting in the first place. These institutions are not divinely crafted. They're not divinely enforced. This isn't the fucking Little Mermaid. It's not supernatural. These institutions are comprised of people. Part of Trump's mission in the second term is to staff these institutions with people who are more loyal to him than the Constitution. And then the other thing I wanted to say implicit to Lauren's question way back like 10 minutes ago is this assumes that there is a system of government which is bad faith proof. There's just not. The fact of the matter is, like when you said, oh, so if this is permissible for a president to do, doesn't that mean the democracy is already dead? No. Every system of government is subject to bad faith. They're fungible, right? And so if you get a sufficiently motivated bad faith actor who is not checked by his party, by other institutions, that poses a great threat. And that's the issue with Trump. He wants to deliberately test these institutions and eventually break them to his benefit. That's not a weakness of the American system. It's a weakness of every fucking system.
Now, before we go to the conservatives, right-wingers, libertarians, whatever, to respond, I do want to quickly say that we're 15 minutes from our scheduled stop time. We can go over if anybody wants to go over, but for those who want to ask questions, now is the last time to donate because we're going to rapid fire through the questions once we got the moment before letting these fine people go. Now, who wants to take it off?
Ladies first.
I would just say like I'm good probably until like 7:30 at the most.
Okay. Lauren Southern?
Are you ladies firsting me? I'm still putting my thoughts together here, Sean. You go right ahead.
All right, well, then the other guy go. Cam.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I want to respond to something Hutch said. Right, we're just doing responses, I guess. Yeah, so you said that like you basically went off of conjecture. Like, who knows? I don't have to prove what his plan is. I don't have to outline a plan that he's going to act on. Well, it's my position that Kamala Harris is going to use the exact same immunities that Donald Trump gained in the Supreme Court to install another president after her choice, right? Like, if you're not going to outline a plan, like I can just as well make like baseless allegations based on conjecture. Like, I can just as well do that as you.
The difference is that we never saw Kamala try to do anything like that.
Great, Hutch,
No,
I'm not finished.
we will outline a plan. We did. I gave a plan.
Yeah,
Answer my plan. Answer my plan.
So again, and then also Josiah said that Trump's just going to like align the government with officials that are loyal to him. It seems like he pretty much tried to do the same thing from 2017 to 2020, and didn't look like it worked. Most of his people abandoned him. So. Yeah.
No, wait a minute. So no, Donald Trump when he was president
before I do want to let you guys respond, but it was 1, 2, 3. I do want to give them a little bit more time because Dylan, we got to be fair.
Right. I mean, when we ask for like a plausible plan, it's like doesn't have to be super detailed. It's just I'm curious what the method would be for a second-term president, like because the method that he tried before didn't work, and again, you don't really have that option as a first-term president. In addition to that, like you guys are alleging that he's going to prosecute his political opponents and do all of this stuff. I mean, Steven cited that he said he was going to be a dictator. He forgets that that was said he's going to be a dictator for one day, like close the border, and I forgot what the other promise was. But this guy already ran on explicitly lock her up, and he didn't even investigate Hillary Clinton in the way that many people who wanted that investigation wanted him to do so. So like past behavior.
Hold on.
No, Hutch,
just interrupt when I'm talking like I did for you. Oh wait, I didn't.
All right, I apologize.
Past behavior is normally a predictor of future outcome, and Trump hasn't shown himself competent enough to actually have a successful coup, to actually have sycophants like Eric Holder that are serving him in the Justice Department. On top of that, our institutions did hold. That's a good thing. And he is currently being prosecuted by the opposition party through a bunch of cases that are first of its kind cases, or we just established a precedent that this is even possible right before. There was a 14th Amendment case where they tried to force him off the ballot. All of this crazy stuff that, again, are chipping away at the democratic process, the norms and all that. But even then, I still don't believe that those actions by the other party are a threat to democracy in the way that you guys are portraying this nebulous plan that you can't quite define from Trump as.
I think it's insane to give Trump credit for not prosecuting Hillary Clinton when presidents don't do that. They cannot, like, according to the norms that have been in place since like the 70s, they don't have the authority to just direct the DOJ to go after their political opponents. That didn't stop him from trying. He
repeatedly.
Publicly, go ahead, pick that up.
Let's just wait. We have a specific plan. Donald Trump will tell everybody in his cabinet, okay, to go after political opponents, launch fake investigations, fabricate evidence, throw them in jail if he wants to, because he knows that he can do that now without any criminal overview whatsoever. And you said that past behavior was a predictor of future behavior. That's what he tried to do in the past, but he picked the wrong people. This time he's picking different people because he knows he needs to. That's why he picked Vance, who said he would have gone along with the plot in 2020 when Pence said that he wouldn't. So we've got past behavior predicting future behavior. We've got a change in action so that it can effect his outcome before. And we have a particular plan that's now protected by the Supreme Court, and it wasn't before.
You'll have Attorney General Rudy Giuliani, day one. You'll have some unscrupulous guy that would be willing to actually go along with him.
So wait one moment. Pondering's been waiting, but Lauren Southern, have you finished gathering your thoughts, or should I throw it to Pondering first?
I'm just really quickly reading some research that I wanted to mention.
I can throw it to some other people first. Okay.
Yeah. So a couple of things. Yes, this idea that because Donald Trump used his executive power to make appointments in his first term means that he will follow the same sort of appointment process in his second term is ridiculous. The entire point is he has publicly said that he was betrayed by rhinos, people like Bill Barr, Jeff Sessions, and others, because he followed the conventional Republican conservative wisdom and appointed people who were, for all their faults, more loyal to the Constitution than to him. He would have the same discretion at his disposal as President of the United States. He would just pick different people. He would pick Matt Gaetz. He would pick Rudy Giuliani or whoever. And even at the Senate, let's say they've got to be Senate confirmed. No, he could just make them acting Secretary of Defense, acting Attorney General. So there are loopholes that Donald Trump could exploit. Sean gave the whole game away when he's like, past behavior is a predictor of future performance. Donald Trump did threaten democracy. That was part of his past behavior. So to me, that's a tacit concession in and of itself, because you just gave the game away that he'll try to do it again in a second term. These institutions are fungible and they are exploitable. You have offered nothing other than that Trump tried and failed the first time. Sean's a crime guy. I imagine that Sean would say that an attempted murderer is still a threat. It's still a big fucking deal when you try to murder somebody and fail. And if someone said, well, hey, this attempted murderer wasn't a threat because they failed in the murder attempt, and you need not fear any future attempt because they failed in the first attempt, absolutely categorically ridiculous. You know your position's ridiculous. being a Trump supporter in this position is just wildly indefensible. Silly
Again,
stuff. Sad.
about the acting position or appointing people in that way. The Senate has a very easy method of avoiding that, and it's actually been adjudicated. They just have to say that they're in session even when they're not in session. So even those cabinet level appointments do have checks. Thank you for reminding me of that. So yeah, the institutions hold, and yes, Trump ran a ridiculous elector scheme. And theoretically, I guess if he could run for a third term, then maybe that would be something we would be worried about after he ran for his second term. But he can't run for a third term. Like, he's even more locked out of extending his reign beyond that, which was the point that I was trying to make. And I have not yet heard
what does the Senate have to do?
A sufficient solution to the 22nd Amendment issue.
What does the Senate have to do with the question here of having an acting AG or having an acting or temporary?
The Senate cannot be in session as like a little tricky trick in order to block those kind of appointments.
Wait. You can still have an acting member though without a Senate confirmation, right? Doesn't the acting part mean that they don't? Yeah, so you can have an acting. By the way, we don't even have to guess would he abuse an acting attorney general because he almost fired his last acting attorney general, Rosen, because Rosen wouldn't go along with a plot to persecute, political opponents and to have and to lie to states about finding voter fraud. So he's already done exactly this with acting, with unconfirmed, with non-Senate confirmed acting AGs. He's already done this.
And this, by the way, this also generously assumes, you know, if there's a Republican Senate, which is very possible, I mean, my God, we have to defend like 8 different seats in incumbent elections. There's no guarantee that a Republican Senate would do anything other than kowtow to him.
Wait, hold on. Also, you don't have to grant the argument because they already said past behavior is predictive of future behavior. For past behavior, there were 11 Republican senators that were willing to go along with the decertification of the election. So he's already got enough people in the Senate that are loyal to him to go through with whatever he wants. So how do you escape the idea of Donald Trump will abuse his cabinet to go after political opponents directly in whatever way he possibly can, knowing that he's tried it in the past, knowing that he now has criminal immunity, and knowing that he'll appoint better people this time? It won't be Attorney General Giuliani. It'll be Attorney General Sidney Powell or Attorney General, it won't be Attorney General William Barr. It'll be Attorney General Rudy Giuliani or Sidney Powell or Eastman.
I mean, kind of interesting how threatening Democrats in particular find the idea of the Trump administration, if elected, actually stacking officials and people in charge of administrations and bureaucracies with like-minded individuals. So what the voters want. If you actually look at the data, they came out with a study just last year going over all of the records of United States federal bureaucracy employees to see who actually stacks people ideologically aligned with them more. And the chart showed that the political appointees chosen to work in the federal government by party during the 6 presidential terms that began in 1997, the data shows Democrat presidents staff up their administrations a lot more quickly and with significantly more of their own like-minded people than Republican presidents. In fact, during Republican administrations, a significant number of Democrat appointees.
Hold on, just as a real quick to head off this point. Wait, just a real quick. None of us care about staffing it with like-minded people. It's about people that are willing to engage in criminal behavior.
Right,
Those are the people that we're talking about.
Because the people staffed by President Clinton in 1997 still turned power over when George W. Bush, the Republican, won in 2000. Same thing when Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton in 2016. Barack Obama was the Democratic president of the United States. Hillary Clinton didn't scheme with Obama, and then Vice President Joe Biden steal the election from Trump. Maybe Democrats are just more reliably dependent in terms of honoring democracy and democratic norms than the Republican
Saying that
counterparts.
as long as he's not appointing like-minded people that would go along with an elector's scheme.
So
or any criminal behavior, any criminal behavior.
I mean, I just. So the idea that he could just put anybody in this acting position is not correct. I mean, it sounded like it was made up nonsense to me, but I looked it up. We actually have a law governing the vacancies, so he would still have to pick somebody that is already in a high level of whatever department for at least 90 days. So if his goal is to throw somebody as the acting attorney general day one, they would have to be in the attorney general's office under Biden. And this is according to, I always hate these abbreviations, the Federal Vacancies Reform Act, which was passed in 1998, probably to restrain Bill Clinton by the Republicans, if we're being perfectly honest. So again, he can't just appoint anyone. He has to appoint somebody who's in the office in a high level position. I'll look for the exact definition of high level, so like we can get that clarified.
Okay, so so that's fair then. So that would basically completely destroy our argument, unless we could possibly cite to an example where he literally did exactly the same thing, where he found the environmental head lawyer guy, Jeff Clark, who he was going to appoint to the acting head position and do the exact thing that we were accusing him of potentially doing in the future, which he exactly did. So none of this matters. The DOJ is a massive department. There's like 50 different branches of potential heads of inferior officers that you could choose from. He could find one to follow through on his scheming. He already did once. Again, past behavior predicts future behavior.
One second. I just want to say we're closing the supers. If you're donating on either the website or on YouTube, we're closing it off in the next 5 minutes. We're going to try to wrap this up. And since we're trying to wrap this up, I want Justice Warrior to answer that question. And then I want to ask about the thing that Sean keeps bringing up, which is the possible political persecution of Donald Trump using the justice system. Is that an attack on democracy, which is often a conservative counter? Over to you, AJW.
Yeah, I don't know what he said. I don't know which department he was referring to. Can I just get a clarification? Are you talking about filling the EPA?
No, I'm talking about in the DOJ. There is like in the it's underneath the assistant attorney general, I think, underneath the acting or underneath the attorney general, after the deputy general. There's another guy, and then there's beneath that, I think there's like the environmental protection, the environmental officer, whatever bullshit of the DOJ. And Jeff Clark was the head of that, and he tried to make him the acting attorney general as well. There's plenty of people in the DOJ. There's a ton of different people. What?
Did that work? Did he become
no?
acting
Because half the DOJ threatened to quit when he was going to do it because they realized that he was trying to destroy the government.
I don't know if that position is qualified. I just was trying to clarify because you said environmental, and I wasn't sure if the EPA was covered under this act. But
no,
yeah,
I'm talking about Jeff Clark, and I'm talking about what he tried to do. He's already tried to do all these things.
Fine, fair enough. What was the question again? The other question?
My main question.
Why would we would do the same thing? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, my question had to do with political persecution. You brought up a few times, Sean, that the Democrats and the government is going after Trump legally, trying to go after him for these crimes or supposed crimes, depending on your perspective. I wanted to ask the room: is that an example of an attack on democracy, the political persecution of an opponent, or is it a bunch of hogwash?
I mean, it's an attack on.
Let's start with Sean because he's been bringing it up.
It's an attack on the norms in our institutions. I mean, trying to remove Trump through the ballot, through the 14th Amendment. I mean, you could argue that that's an attack on our democracy, but our institutions held in those particular cases. But I mean, if you look at these different court cases, now granted, I will point out that they're not even all remotely federal. One is even a local one, the Alvin Bragg case. What you're seeing is weird new interpretations, first time ever used interpretations in order to target Trump. I mean, the Bragg case, where it's a money thing, falsifying business records, those were enhanced to felony charges based on the fact that he was trying to influence the outcome of an election. Now, that's fine that you could say that that's what you're trying to go for, but those falsifications occurred after the election. So it was, even on its face, that's a very odd upgrade to felony charges, especially from a guy who ran on and downgrades more felony charges than anyone in the history of the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. You have the Georgia case where they actually prosecuted, as a test case, widely reported, young thug under the RICO statute in order to have a case more similar than the Georgia teacher statute in order to prosecute Donald Trump. And it was described by the media as a test case. It's still ongoing. And again, that's very unusual to try a completely different defendant in a new way just so you have precedent in order to try your political opponent, who, by the way, you ran on prosecuting. So yeah, these are problems, but do they necessarily rise to the point of overthrowing our democracy? No, I think that is a heavy burden. I think it can change the norms. And honestly, I know a lot of people on the left are worried that Trump might win again and he might follow suit with what the Democrats have demonstrated that they will do when they're in power. So, but I don't think it's a threat to democracy in that same way.
At the end of the day, you still have to identify a crime. You still have to file charges. You maybe convene a grand jury. And then you have to convince a jury of your peers. And we're talking about the same DOJ that successfully prosecuted Bob Menendez. They just secured a guilty verdict
in an
against
election
him.
year.
They're going after Texas Representative Cuellar. They successfully prosecuted Hunter Biden. So I'm sorry, I'm just not buying this.
Yeah, the whole allegation that the Justice Department's been weaponized under Biden is absolutely preposterous. They appointed a special counsel to investigate him. Robert Hur released an incredibly politically damaging report about the president. They bent over backwards to accommodate Trump. Merrick Garland, we have reporting that he dragged his feet for a fucking year with the classified documents case. Didn't the FBI and the National Archives play footsie with Trump behind the scenes, begging him to send the documents back because they didn't want to prosecute him? Cuellar, Menendez, Hunter Biden. Biden could have snapped his fingers and made that case go away. Usually, U.S. attorneys resign when a new president enters office because they're political appointees of the previous administration. Biden specifically asked David Weiss, the Trump-appointed special counsel, to remain to investigate his son. Donald Trump would never fucking do that. That was actually an act of superhuman ethics on Joe Biden's part, thus proving his moral superiority over Donald Trump, objectively.
Cool. I'll answer the question too. Yeah. So I don't think it's a threat to democracy. I think it's a bad and corrupt thing to do, but I don't think it's a threat to democracy. Democracy will not cease to exist if you vote for Alvin Bragg, who explicitly campaigned on going to court with Donald Trump. And also, Hutch, it seemed that Sean said almost the exact same thing, and then you attacked him as if he said the inverse. Again, strawmanning him, which seems to be your primary tactic throughout the entire debate.
No, he accused Biden's DOJ of political persecution against Biden's political opponents. And
I've heard Sean say explicitly throughout this debate that Biden's not involved, like several times. So I don't know where.
Wait. Biden's not involved in what? Wait. Biden's not involved in what?
Like prosecuting Trump.
He's not. Biden is not involved in prosecuting Trump.
Yeah, exactly, Destiny. That's the point we're making. I think Sean and I both have conceded that Biden's not involved, but it seems that Hutch keeps attacking Sean for the exact inverse of everything he says.
Because
about Biden being involved, even though nobody said that Biden was involved.
Because he used language talking about political persecution using the DOJ.
I actually specifically, I specifically clarified that there were state, even local officials. Then I went specifically to Alvin Bragg, who is a local official. I talked about them running on these. Are you not familiar? I said they weren't all federal. I also want to point out that you're like, Garland dragged his feet. Yeah, it's true. The federal prosecutors all dragged their feet on this up until Trump was announcing he was running for election. And this is a criticism I've heard from people on the left and the right, that once it was clear that he was going to run, that's when they decided that they were going to prosecute. I mean, Cenk Uygur screams about how Merrick Garland should have went after him the entire time as soon as he came out of office.
So you are accusing the Biden DOJ of political prosecution, right?
Well, let me finish my point. So he says he should have went after him as soon as he got out of office. You had the special counsel bring charges on the classified documents case, but it would have been probably less political to go after him early when you weren't sure he was going to run rather than later. But it seems like they went after him and they put all these cases on the ballot. And again, most of it is not federal officials or the special counsel. It's local politicians that ran specifically on prosecuting Trump. And remember, normally you have to have evidence of a crime before you start an investigation, not as a campaign promise run on finding a crime to charge somebody with. But again, even then, people did vote for this. I find it to be disgusting. I don't think it is a threat to democracy. It shakes the faith in the judicial system, but I don't think it overthrows our democratic system because that's just a heavy burden.
Even if you guys have not met. Touching on what Cam said, you are saying that the Biden DOJ under Merrick Garland is engaged in political prosecution, right?
I don't know if the special counsel directly answers to Merrick Garland.
No, but you said that Merrick Garland specifically announced the charges when he knew that Trump was going to be the candidate.
I said that Merrick Garland didn't charge Trump, and people have criticized him for dragging his feet until Trump ran for president.
Could I get a clarification if it was or wasn't political persecution, Sean?
I think there's definitely a political element to it. There's a reason all these cases popped off.
Okay,
for sure.
Dude, for Alvin Bragg, even if he did run on the idea of prosecuting Trump, couldn't he have done it because he thought that Trump committed a crime? This was a criminal case. He got a grand jury. We got a grand jury to agree to an indictment, and then it was tried in open criminal court, and a jury of peers convicted Donald Trump of the crime. So even if it started off as I hate him politically or whatever, he went through the entire criminal court process in order to secure that conviction at the end of the day. So he
literally admitted that he didn't know.
Hold on, I want to get the standard out. So hold on, I want to get the standard out. If Trump orders an investigation into his political opponents, and then they find a crime when they're digging into him in order to look specifically for a crime. They didn't have evidence before they started the investigation, but they go through the whole trial phase. They try whatever political opponent in a county that voted 80% for Donald Trump.
You have to have evidence to get an indictment. You need evidence for an indictment.
And then they convict him. That's fine as long as you present some evidence when you're digging.
That would be violative of the norm. That would be violative of the norm that the president doesn't direct the DOJ. That That would violate
Yeah,
that norm.
district
It technically
attorneys
wouldn't be
prosecute. Presidents don't prosecute. That's one of the major differences
First of all,
between those two
the
examples.
DOJ serves under the president. Like this weird idea that departments under the executive branch are like somehow above the executive branch.
They're
is
not
crazy.
above. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. They're
wait,
not
no.
above. They're not above the executive branch. But the president, by way of norm, is not supposed to be involved with the day-to-day prosecutorial decisions. So yes,
Long-standing
the attorney general serves at the pleasure of the president. He is the president is his boss. But the thing is that they shouldn't be directed. You prosecute this person. You don't prosecute this person. It's like broad, like, hey, we're going to reschedule marijuana. We're going to focus more on these sorts of cases than this. Not you're supposed to prosecute this person or not. No one is saying that the attorney general is totally independent of the president. They serve at the president's pleasure. The president's just not a prosecutor the way a district attorney is.
I never said the president was a prosecutor. I said he got his prosecutors to go after them.
Yeah, but
wait. So the president did, So the president did get prosecutors in the DOJ to go after Trump?
No, I asked you a hypothetical that if this were the case, but they went through the normal legal process, you would be fine with that? That's the standard?
No, because in order to make it comparable, it would have to be like the governor of New York running on trying to...
A local DA that's very pro-Trump, 90% Trump category, finds an official, charges him with the crime that he campaigned on charging him with. They present evidence in front of a grand jury. It's enough for an indictment. Very low standard, by the way. And they secure a conviction. That's like totally legit.
The evidence of the crime is already in the public square.
If they think they've committed a crime, hold on. Especially as a New Yorker, you don't think people have ever run on cleaning up crime, on getting rid of like the mob or the mafia, or run as a DA on doing things to get rid of?
You're not answering the question, which is a very direct question. Would that be okay?
I can't hear both at the same time. Sean, you were saying something?
Yeah, so you're not answering the question, which is a very direct question, and now you're pivoting to a DA running on being tough on crime and prosecuting criminals in general. Like
not
that's
in general, it's not just general things. People want to go after particular criminals. If you think a guy's committed a crime and the DA runs on that, he's like, I think that this guy's a criminal. When I'm the DA, I'm going to go after this guy. I'm going to make sure that
the evidence of the crime was already out in the public space at that point. Michael Cohen had testified in front of Congress to these crimes. He had been criminally charged and convicted on these crimes. So it's not like there was some fishing expedition. There was already strong evidence of these crimes out there in the open that had been reported on and adjudicated for years.
Okay.
Michael Cohen was prosecuted by federal authorities, am I right or no?
No, but it was for the same he was prosecuted federally, but the crimes were related.
All right, but can I also get my question answered? So it would be fine if like a Trump
can we make this the last question so we can
that?
get to some of these donations, guys? Because we are.
If a district attorney thought that somebody, if a district attorney thought somebody had committed a crime and he runs on that, I'm going to hold them accountable for this crime that I think this person has committed. Yeah, and they go through the ordinary process and not breaking any rules or anything. Yeah, I think that's fine. I think everybody
running. Okay, so running on, I'm going to find a crime to prosecute them. That's totally fine.
Did Alvin say that? I'm going to find a crime.
Yeah, he said What was the exact quote? What you call it? Cam, you were talking about it earlier that he said he was running on seeing Trump in court.
Oh yeah. He like specifically said that he was the person that had the most experience on the ballot with dealing with Trump in court.
Okay, what did he say? He was going to find a crime?
He didn't specify what crime he was going to prosecute him on when he was asked.
So he didn't say this then.
No
you completely made that up. So you completely fabricated that. To be clear, right? Hold on, Sean. You admit that you totally just made that the fuck up, right? That he was going to find a crime, right?
I didn't say he said as an exact quote he's going to find a crime, but he ran on finding a crime to prosecute on.
How do you know he did that if he didn't say it exactly though? I thought we were going by exact quotes, a detailed manifesto of exactly what somebody's going to do.
You just inserted that in there and pretend, and you hope that your audience won't notice.
If there's already federal prosecution of people around Trump or Cohen for these exact types of behaviors, why wouldn't we assume that Alvin Bragg is running on the idea of going after Trump because he knows that Trump was in the state of New York when these crimes are being committed? Why couldn't we just assume that?
I'm looking for the quote that he, for his campaign.
You also
promise.
check the timeline. In all seriousness, I thought that Trump was already under some sort of preliminary investigation by Bragg's predecessor, wasn't he? That's the other thing too. I can't remember, but you may want to double check that too.
Okay, can we use this as a stopping point? And Sean, during the question period, if you find something, maybe we can retouch on it again. Okay, fantastic. Thank you guys for being here for this. We're going to go through some questions because a lot of people have questions. We got a lot of people watching. Happy to see it. Let me read through these quickly, okay? To conservatives, Historically, do most failed democracies fail due to soft erosion of guardrails over time or due to hard power takeovers? Does anybody want to
I
take
guess
that?
it would mean like hard power takeover. Does that mean always
like a
external,
military
like
coup,
always,
something like
but always another country, or internal? I would say hard power takeovers.
Okay. Continuing.
Preceded by soft erosion.
Okay.
I would say chances are generally probably strong democracies don't generally just get cooed or fail. There's probably some erosion of norms or things that cause shit to be kind of wacky, and then eventually it makes it more susceptible to either external or internal pressure. But I mean, it would depend. If you're talking about like a full-on fucking invasion, like, I mean, it doesn't matter if you got a strong or weak democracy, if the other country's bigger than you, they probably just blow your shit up, right?
Okay. If Hitler had failed to seize power, would it have still been fair to say democracy was on the ballot when he was running for election?
Didn't he win election? Wasn't it stuff he did afterwards that like allowed him to become the Führer?
I believe
like,
he got like in third place, and then later
he lost.
He won.
I thought he got a plurality.
He lost.
I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, he lost.
No, he
to
lost.
Hindenburg.
He lost against the coalition government, and then they appointed him chancellor.
Well, yeah, but the question is, like, assume a counterfactual where he was unsuccessful in his despotic ends. Would it still have been fair to say that he was a threat to democracy, or democracy was on the ballot?
But he lost. Like is that's what you guys just said?
Also,
it's a hypothetical.
His appointment was
literal.
I mean, his appointment was what like installed him into that position. So it wasn't on the ballot. It was honestly out of the hands of the citizens.
No, I understand. What the guy is asking for is an unsuccessful dictator still a threat to democracy? That's how I interpret the question. If the person is unsuccessful in their dictatorial ends, would it still be fair to say that they were a threat to democracy, or that democracy was on the ballot when they initially ran for election? I'd say yeah. I'd say obviously, but
I mean, look, it's Hitler. Like, obviously, he's a threat to like all sorts of norms. So it's kind of baked into the question.
I feel like you're right there. You're like right there, you know?
Also, can I just clarify? So the brag statements earlier were, quote, "We need a DEA on day one who has this 360-degree experience. Let's talk about what's waiting for the new DA." So there was already an investigation, subpoenas, and everything by the prior DA into Trump's business dealings relating to these cover-up. So the investigation had already been going on. Number one, okay, and then we know there's a Trump investigation. I've investigated Trump and his children and held them accountable for their misconduct with the Trump Foundation. I also sued the Trump administration more than 100 times for deferred action for childhood arrivals, the travel ban, separation of children from their families at the border. So I know that work. I know how to follow the facts and hold people in power accountable. And the second quote is, "I'm the candidate in the race who has the experience with Donald Trump. I was the chief deputy in the Attorney General's office. We sued the Trump administration over 100 times for the Muslim travel ban, for family separation at the border, for shenanigans with the census. So I know how to litigate with him. I also led the team that did the Trump Foundation case. So I'm ready to go wherever the facts take me and to inherit that case." And I think it'd be hard to argue with the fact that that'd be the most important, most high-profile case. And I've seen him up front. I've seen the lawlessness that he could do. So it seems like he said exactly the opposite of what you implied. Do you understand that those quotes seem like the exact opposite?
He ran on holding him, quote, accountable. I'm reading through his quotes right now. I might have the same page as you.
Okay,
Steven,
so if he ran on holding him accountable, isn't that what a DA is literally supposed to do? Isn't that his job?
Steven, come on. Just because there was already an investigation, and just because Trump had a history of corruption, I mean, that's basically the same as lock her up. You get that, right, Steven? Come on.
Was that the same investigation? And he's not the only one. Letitia James also campaigned on prosecuting Trump.
I'm talking about Letitia James.
Well, we are when it's convenient for them.
Wait, hold on. Do we agree that Bragg's statements here seem to be the exact opposite of what you implied, right?
The statements that you read just now were not like the bad ones that I'm referring to. I'm looking through his statements during the campaign. But
Letitia James ran on going after Trump for the massive fraud that Michael Cohen testified to in front of Congress. She wasn't just finding it out of nowhere. It was something that was established in the public square.
You guys got a third name? Bragg, James. Is there another one?
Okay.
Funny.
Garland maybe did something bad.
F-A-N-I.
Okay, so we're gonna
ask Fanny, but I call her
a few
Fanny.
more questions if we're done with that back and forth. Wasn't there something you wanted to touch back on earlier, AJW? I kind of forget.
This was it. We just touched on
Oh,
it.
you just
Yes.
touched- okay. Good.
I'm looking for the brag thing, so.
Okay, we'll just give you more time. I'll ask some more questions. For the righties, if Trump loses and retires, will the right stay MAGA, revert back to the right pre-Trump, or something new? W. Dillon, this was spaced. Thank you.
Yeah, obviously, I personally am not going to support Trump after like his like legally allowed term, right? Obviously, I'm going to like support somebody else.
I mean, obviously, I am Canadian, which I did ask Connor why I was partaking in this despite being Canadian, and he said for the thrill, for the flares. So here I am, but I don't think, just obviously observing it all, and even in Canada, it seems that a more populist right is always going to be the choice at the moment and probably going forward, at least for the next while. I mean, the Conservatives in Canada tried to run a more moderate Conservative that supported gun control, vaccine mandates, this kind of stuff, and Trudeau wiped the floor with him, and now they've had to replace him with a more populist candidate for Canada, Pierre Poilievre. So even in Canada, and you look at the UK, Nigel Farage is now the opposition because the Conservatives were voted out for being too moderate. I don't think you're going to see a reversion to a more previous neocon right in the Republican Party. I don't think that the voters want that or the base want that anywhere in the Western world at the moment. Whether you like that or not,
could you foresee any meaningful changes between that future populist candidate and Trump? That's a genuine question. Like if they're also going to be a populist, would you see like a major departure in any respect from Trump?
I couldn't. I mean, Trump is a pretty unique personality. It would be hard to replicate a Trump personality in any future candidate, and I think any attempt to do so would seem a bit, fake and weird. So there is going to be that difference. I don't think you're going to probably have the TV star aspect in a future candidate. But, look at someone like J.D. Vance. I thought that was a pretty surprising pick, and he's definitely more of from the more esoteric, autistic right-wing spheres than we've ever properly seen in kind of mainstream politics. I think that you are going to have a very different candidates coming up, especially as millennials start to enter the race for leadership. But yeah, not going to be the same kind of TV star personality as Trump. I can't imagine that would be the case.
I think we're witnessing the collapse of the Republican Party. I think Trump is, if he loses, I think Trumpism is not going to go away. And I just don't think they can help themselves. And they seem to be getting more and more extreme the more they lose. And the more they lose, the more extreme they get. And it's just a vicious cycle. And it's just.
The question was, would you support Trump if he tries to stay past his second term? Was that the question?
Oh, I apologize.
Mega politics.
It was like if Trump takes a big fat L, like what's gonna happen to MAGA politics? Is it gonna like die? What's gonna happen to the Republican Party, etc.?
I mean, in reality, what people like is winners in politics. Like the reason that Biden won the primary in 2020 is because of Obama nostalgia. The reason that Hillary Clinton won the primary in 2016 was because of Clinton nostalgia. So if Trump takes a second loss, like that's it. It's like pretty much over for him. Like those people still exist. They'll still want a candidate that speaks to those issues, but it's like it's pretty much over for him. Also, he's kind of like a really old guy. So it's over for him.
No, though. I mean, like 2022 was pretty brutal for Republicans.
Yes, I do want to.
That's a midterm. We're talking about presidential elections. Like typically, people don't like the feel of a loser, and Trump kind of escapes some of that because he like says that he didn't lose, and enough people believe it. And also, like the Biden term was so bad that they feel like he could win again. But like if he loses again, then it's pretty much over for him, in my opinion. Like I don't see you recovering from 2 presidential election losses.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm interested by the chat. They're all saying J.D. Vance is a horrible pick. How could you not realize he's a horrible pick? I don't think J.D. Vance was a good pick, personally. I think he probably should have gone with a woman, in my opinion, but a lot of right-wingers disagree with me there. That's my opinion, though.
Any woman?
Yeah, just because
any woman.
Any woman. No.
Somebody who could stand. Somebody who could stand to be close to Trump all the time, so not his wife.
My point wasn't like you have to like this direction, people. My point is that is where it is going. People are kind of getting really sick of the lack of change in, like I said, all over the Western world, whether it be the UK, immigration policy, even with Trump. Destiny, you've made some pretty good critiques on Trump shooting down some immigration policy that could have been helpful for shutting down the border. Basically, they just want people that are actually going to do something. And is sometimes that a lot more rhetoric than it is actually action? Yeah, sometimes, but people are listening to rhetoric. They want someone that seems like they're going to push harder on immigration policy, getting progressivism out of schools, all these issues that are kind of in their day-to-day periphery, the inflation issues. And once again, this, whether you like the candidates or not, whether you hate the right wing, whatever, that's just the direction I think it's going to go, more and more populist.
Okay, we've got 2 more questions. The next one is, do you guys think that JD Vance saying that he would overturn the election results on national TV was a problem or is concerning? That was for the conservatives.
Yeah, little bit.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
It had to do with JD Vance went on TV when he was going for the VP pick, and the question came up about like what Mike Pence, when he had the choice between like, you know, is he going to like send it back to the states or not? And JD Vance said that he would. Is that concerning at all?
Yeah. If JD Vance said that, if that quote is legit, then yes, that's concerning. That's idiotic, and it's a good way to land yourself in federal prison because. And I honestly, if he did say that, he's pandering to Trump, which, you know, I mean, I get that everybody panders to the nominee. I get that's a thing that happens. But yeah, it's a stupid move. Like, you should not do that. It was a terrible plan.
Plus, I mean, it's part of like the overall like trend we're seeing from prominent Republican politicians who won't commit to accepting the results of the election. They'll say things like, I am fully confident that Donald J. Trump will be elected the 47th president of the United States, and I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, but no matter what the outcome is, I am confident that Donald J. Trump will be the 47th president. Multiple Republican senators, I think Lindsey Graham, Tim Scott, certainly J.D. Vance, among others. It's extremely dangerous. I think that a good test for Republicans should be, hey, before we answer that question, how would we feel if a prominent Democrat said something like that? Perhaps the vice president, currently Kamala Harris, who would be presiding over the certification of the next election. What if she said, I am confident that Joseph Robinette Biden is going to be elected the 47th president of the United States, to every answer about will you accept the results of the election? The last thing I'll say on that is, actually going all the way back to the Eastman memo when they were scheming to try to justify Pence tossing out the ballots. I can't remember, and Stephen might remember, I think it was Pence's chief of staff or Pence's counsel was like, okay, so could Al Gore have done it in 2000? And Eastman's like, no, of course not. Okay, could Joe Biden have done it in 2016? No, of course not. Could Vice President Harris do it in 2024? No, of course not. These people are unprincipled fucking losers who deserve nothing but your public contempt.
By the end, Greg Jacobs testified, I'm pretty sure, that when he was arguing with Eastman over how likely do you think this would be to survive in the Supreme Court, the first answer that Eastman said is we'd probably lose 7-2. And then after talking for a little more, like, yeah, I'd probably lose 9-0. Like, that was an absurd theory.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. Oh, yeah. Great.
Did you have something to say on this, Cam?
I was just going to answer the question, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I was just gonna say, yeah, I agree with Sean. If he said this, then yeah, it's bad, of course, and not good. But I think something that we kind of miss when we're looking at like all these Trump loyalists being appointed to government is I think we miss the fact that a lot of the times they're doing these things, like Sean said, to pander to the nominee, right? Like I think that when JD Vance said that, like who knows if he would have actually done it? It seems like he was probably doing it to pander to Trump and get Trump's support and like continue to have Trump support him, whatever, and also like energize Trump's base and like make Trump's base support him right now because he's having obviously troubles with that. But on top of that, like these people all have their own interests at heart, right? Like, who's when it really comes down to the line, like, are they going to sacrifice their own election?
Can I ask that follow-up question, just personally? Do you think JD Vance there's ever be a
wait? Can he follow? Can he do the end of that? Were you about to say would they really risk their political life? There are multiple lawyers that are in the process of being disbarred right now. What kind of a question is that?
Yeah, it's not going to be the majority of Trump appointees. The majority of Trump's appointees abandoned him for their own personal interests. So yeah, like I'm just not going to.
I don't understand how
you vehemently support Trump and everything he says, but it's because of the TV people.
Cam, give me a second. I just want to get to the core of this and move on because we do got to wrap this up because the people got to go. Do you think that there's any risk that JD Vance have given like the instructions to like do what, like send it back to the states, that he would do it to anybody?
I don't know. I think there's always like risk that like people are going to do certain things, right? We don't know for certain. Essentially,
There's always a risk that certain people are going to do certain things. Wait, what was that answer?
Yeah, of course there's risk. If he said he would
is
do
this
it, then
not-
yeah, of course there's
is this
risk.
not
But,
a
like,
tacit-
What I'm
is
saying
this
is, like,
not
I think a lot of
tacit
times.
admission?
what I was getting at
Wait,
is-
guys, don't let him answer. Okay, he's
Thanks. Yeah,
Okay.
it seems like every time I open my mouth, everybody else starts talking. It's crazy.
Jesus.
So anyway, yeah, what I was trying to say was it seemed. Destiny, come on, man.
That was Josiah, not me. Don't blame me.
Yeah, Steven, fucker.
Okay.
Steven, stop it.
Okay, great. Okay, so anyway, what I was getting at was it seems like a lot of these people like just pander to Trump so they can get support from his base and win elections, right? But like when it comes down to like actually losing their jobs, it seems like the majority of them are not going to sacrifice their jobs to like help Trump in his like crazy like esoteric legal theories, like I said before. And you cite like all these people, you guys have been citing all these like crazy people that like continue to support Trump and all of his antics, and it seems to be like all the crazy TV people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz. Like, of course, those people who are looking for popularity on television are going to pander to Trump's base.
Wait, we're talking about JD. Can I just say real quick, is that not a tacit admission that the Trump administration would be a threat to democracy? It feels like you acknowledge that there would be a risk of JD Vance doing something similar to January 6th.
Yep.
He said the opposite. That he would choose his own personal political career over.
No.
Yeah, but if his personal political career relied on approval from Donald Trump, which Donald Trump makes clear to every single person he talks to, I hope these guys get elected. I said that on the call.
That's a phenomenal question. Can you point to me a major Republican whose political career depended on them actually challenging Trump? Because it seems to me that's a death sentence in the Republican Party more often than not.
Yeah, but Vance as the VP, like if he was the VP, and again, nobody explains how he would be in the position of Trump, but whatever, as the VP has the same issues that Mike Pence had, where there's nowhere to go when you're the VP except to the presidency, and you risk going to jail if you try this and the court tosses it out. So like it's not in his self-interest in that moment to do that. Remember, Mike Pence was one of the biggest hype men for Donald Trump up until he asked him to do something that would compromise not only his own career but his own freedom.
Well, but now you can get pardoned. What do you mean? Federal crimes? President can just pardon you.
Okay.
I mean, he theoretically, yeah, sure, he could pardon you, but again, like,
but that just defeated your entire argument. Why would it not work?
It's not going to work though. Like the court is going to invalidate it because even the lawyers that came up with this said it was a 7-2.
Wait, the court's going to invalidate a pardon?
No, not the pardon, the actual act to keep Trump in office.
Well, maybe the court will invalidate. You don't know. Who knows, right?
Yeah, we have a pretty good idea when they rejected all of Trump's election cases that they weren't interested in it. But
yeah, but then they granted him. But then they granted him criminal immunity that the president of the United States has never had in the history of all the presidencies.
Being prosecuted by opportunistic political actors, and it got kicked up to the Supreme Court. They sought to have a standard for actions while the president was in office. Like you act like he just got granted immunity out of nowhere. It was because
it came out of nowhere. Yeah, it was nowhere in the Constitution.
It was because of case after case where the court had to examine this specific claim.
Could we?
What specific claim?
Okay, finish this quick.
Like that the president has some level of immunity.
Okay, he doesn't. The court invented that for him. But also, wait, did we find the Alvin Bragg's quote?
Oh, I know that Alvin Bragg actually. So you had two attorneys that ended up leaving the case in 2021 to give you an idea of the political nature of this. And they both entered written statements saying that Bragg decided not to prosecute. And then all of a sudden, when Trump is saying that he's running for office, this case ends up coming back. So this, like I said, was dead and buried when people didn't know Trump was running for office.
Okay, wait. That's good. But can you admit that what you said is nowhere to be found from what Bragg did? Bragg didn't say anything what you said, and what he said was the exact opposite of what you implied, right?
Bragg didn't say, I'm directly going to find the crime to prosecute Trump, but he ran on prosecuting Trump, which is very atypical.
No. He said he ran on continuing the already started investigation, and he said he was going to follow the facts.
Many quotes about, of course, you give your little caveat.
Can you give me one single quote that shows what you were saying? You just spent all this time looking for it, right?
Well, I was looking at the timeline of the case, but
okay. So to be clear, then what you're saying, you have no quotes for this. And every quote that we've both seen so far is the exact opposite of what you said. The exact opposite. So we're relying on there being some.
It's not the exact opposite. He's saying that he's going to go after him.
No, wait. Where did he say? Where did he say that? I'm going to go after him, or did he say I'm going to follow the facts?
Oh my God, he's paraphrasing.
Also, I just think it's hilarious that the addition of...
No, wait, stop. Hold on. He's not paraphrasing. Paraphrasing implies that you are accurately summarizing the underlying material. He's not just misquoting.
Let's.
I said that he campaigned.
Wait. We're gonna let Destiny finish his point. and then we're gonna have Sean respond because this is the back and forth. We don't need I don't think the side commentary here is that important. Go on.
I'm just curious. What is a single Albert Bregg's point?
Yeah.
After they're done, can I be permitted to leave?
Yeah, we have one more. Enough. We have one more rabbit hole question, and then we're done. Okay? I promise. I promise you. Okay?
I got a final goodbye message.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
Okay. 1 second. Accidentally turned off. Okay.
Is it Steven or me?
Yeah, no. Steven, ask the question. Sean, respond, and then we have one more rabbit hole.
My final point was that it seems like every single quote from Braggs showed that he was going to follow the facts, he was going to be careful and follow the law, and he was continuing the investigation that had already begun, which is a stark contrast to Sean accusing him of saying he's going on a fishing expedition and he was going to prosecute him no matter what. So I'm looking for a single quote around his campaign he was running that demonstrates that he was planning on doing that, or at least made that intention public.
Again, the entire campaign for Manhattan District Attorney was about this. Go watch the Democratic debates for the Manhattan District Attorney, who are going to win. On top of that, he specifically was referring to, in a lot of the quotes that Steven cited, the campaign finance prosecution, which he did not actually didn't prosecute him for. And also, according to CBS News, Alvin Bragg dropped this case in 2021 and then re-picked it up, according to the special assistant district attorneys that he had on board. So, yes, there was a political motivation for this. Now, as far as the specific quote that Destiny is asking for, it does not exist. He gave caveats. He's smarter than he's smarter than I gave him credit for in my paraphrase. So if you want to take that, that's fine.
Okay, so just to be clear, everything you just said was, you keep saying there's a political motivation. You have zero evidence of that. You said go watch all of the debates
in the campaign, but okay.
Okay, where? Show me. Literally, where?
Like in the campaign, he's talking about prosecuting Trump.
In the campaign, what? In the what? StarCraft 2 campaign? And the campaign for what?
Campaign for Manhattan District Attorney. That would be the office that he holds, Stephen.
Okay, so was it in a speech? Was it on social media? Is it published anywhere, like on a major media publication?
He gives the caveat at the end of it. That's true. He did give his caveats. If you want to say that's fine, then that's fine.
I mean, they're fine for Trump. When Trump says go peacefully and patriotically one time in a fucking speech, that changes the tenor of everything. The Bragg's caveats don't count for shit. It's kind of funny.
StarCraft references. I think that's enough. My last rabbit hole question. Then we're gonna do closing so everybody can go. Do you guys think that with JD Vance's, he's only been the senator for 2 years? What background can we go off of to like educate ourselves on whether he would make that decision to go and send it back to the states, or he would say, no, Trump, I stand with the Constitution, or whatever you guys would think he would say? Because he doesn't have an extensive history in politics.
Who was that to?
I mean, that was, I guess the conservatives.
Okay.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm being honest.
True. It's almost like a rephrase of the same question that we just answered.
It's almost like conservatives have no fucking platform, have no engagement with the political system whatsoever, and the defense of Donald Trump is actually a fucking joke, and every single thing around him is actually a fucking giant meme. Which is fine. No. We all meme it up sometimes. That's good. Okay. I'm here for it.
I almost
wrap it up.
Yes, thank you. I had a brief moment of wisdom where I told Connor I couldn't join this, because I said I didn't have enough time to do research before it, because I've had a hectic month. I've told a few of you guys about it, but it's just been ridiculous. Believe it or not, Destiny audience, Pisco and I have been going over the indictments for hours. We've spent good time on it, but I definitely need more time to go through it. I do not think that they are simply cut and dry. Trump is going to end democracy and was about to. I don't think it's that simple so far, but I have a lot more reading to do. Lauren should have left 5 minutes when she came in. I should have. I absolutely should have. But I will also have Connor told me that someone on the Hippy Dippy stream was crying, screaming, and throwing up if I didn't show up. So I left here. I showed up at my studio to join and contributed absolutely nothing. So I apologize to AJW and everyone else for that. But next time, when I'm done this with Pisco, I will have an excellent conversation. So thanks for having me.
Happy to have you. You have a great one. Okay, we'll go to everybody else for closings.
You made Monolith very happy. He was crying and screaming in the chat.
Was he the one crying and screaming in the chat? All right, bye.
Okay, let's stop milking and let's wrap it up. Let's start with AJW.
What are we doing now?
We're wrapping up outros and
closing statements. All right. So, I mean, we got a little off track, but it was fun. It's not about like what you achieve. It's about the friends you make along the way. Now, during the course of this debate, which was pitched to us as Trump is going to end democracy, throughout the course of it, these guys presented no plausible scenario in which that could happen. Instead, they threw out this random thing or that random thing, talked about how he could erode some norms and all that, which honestly is like what you could argue about any candidate, and it's like really more opinion based. And I was hoping for a plot that could circumvent the 22nd Amendment from any of these people, but unfortunately I did not get that, and that's honestly quite sad. I mean, I am quite upset about that. Now, as for the evil orange man being not the best guy, I think we can all understand that he's not our favorite person in the whole world unless he absolutely is. And, you know, like he definitely has some sketchy tendencies, if I'm being perfectly honest. I mean, look at the color of his skin. But I think what we can all say as we came together is that through the course of this conversation, we became more than just a debate panel. We became a family. And if you guys can't realize that I'm ready to go to the bathroom, then I don't know what to tell you, but it was nice. I hope you guys are very well in your lives. It's nice meeting all of you. You're all good friends, and I'm out of here.
Damn, he deleted himself, basically. Damn, okay. Sending you over to Destiny, then.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the conservative defense for Trump is a meme because Trump is a meme and because his whole platform is a meme. And I think that it is literally impossible. I think it's kind of been demonstrated over the past 2 weeks. It's impossible to seriously engage with any conservatives when it comes to defending Donald Trump's behavior. They instantly become basically like LSD, you know, schizo-ridden, delusional, insane people who have to like pull to the ends of the earth. I think I would say that the highlight of the debate for me tonight was watching the conservative side seriously consider whether or not the Civil War was a threat to American democracy. I think that was the highlight of this debate to me, and I think it illustrates how far you have to go to justify any defensible position of Donald Trump and the way that he conducts his behavior while he's in office.
Okay, we're gonna send it over to Hutch.
Yeah, I found this is something I run into a lot. I engage with conservatives a lot on social media, and the cope that I see over and over again, and we saw it on full display tonight, was, you know, we had our two co-panelists acknowledge that Donald Trump tried to subvert the will of millions of voters and simultaneously say that that's not a threat to democracy. They both acknowledged that J.D. Vance saying that he would commit to actually sending those electors back if he was in that same spot. They don't seem to acknowledge that that is a threat to democracy. I don't know what to do with that. You can find me on Twitter at Hutchinson, on Twitch at Hutch. Dylan, thanks for having me, and it was nice to meet my fellow panelists for the first time here.
Awesome. And we're now going to send it over to Cam Higby.
Hey, yeah, so firstly, thank you, Dylan, for having me on, and thanks, Danabo, for reaching out. Furthermore, I'd like to pretty much say the same thing Sean said, in that I think that at least to us, the way that it seemed was, and that's, I think, nobody's fault other than the interpretation that both sides had, that basically democracy being on the ballot meant that democracy is going to cease to exist if Donald Trump wins the election. I don't think that that's true. Obviously, and I posited like several times that we could just move on from that topic and, you know, maybe look at a more nuanced version of this discussion that talked about like threats to democracy as opposed to democracy ceasing to exist if we got concessions from people, but we never got concessions from people, so we continued to go in circles the entire time. Furthermore, I'd like to say that Destiny says the conservative side seriously considered if civil war was a threat to democracy. I don't think anybody did that on here. I told you as soon as you said it that it was a non-analogous example or analogy. It wasn't a good metaphor for the situation, obviously, because there was a military coup as opposed to like, you know, somebody trying to like use or manipulate laws to keep themselves in power. Obviously, it's fundamentally different. So, yeah.
Okay, and now we're going to send it over to Pondering to wrap us up.
Yeah, so appreciate this last second edition. Is great interacting with AJW, Lauren.
Wait, 1 second, I do want to
Cam.
throw a really big shout out to Cam for coming last second with very little time to prepare. I really do appreciate it.
Basically none.
Yes. Pondering.
Yeah, seems like a chill guy. It was nice meeting you guys. I learned a lot from this conversation. Number one, that threats to democracy are when military, nothing is ever on the ballot. Democracies never end. They're just temporarily inconvenienced. Could be for 10 years, it could be for centuries. The Roman Republic never ceased to exist because Italy still exists. I don't understand the thought process. There is no good faith defense of Donald Trump. He is an authoritarian narcissist, a pathological liar, a betrayal of genuine conservative principles. And this idea that simply because he failed in his first attempt to thwart democracy, therefore he will fail in his second attempt is categorically ridiculous. You would never apply that logic anywhere in any other aspect of life. If you have a girlfriend or a spouse, and again, they drive their car into a guardrail on a highway and they don't careen over the cliff, you would never say, hey, go fucking try it again. You were never in danger. Categorically ridiculous. Make sure you vote for the Democrats in every fucking election until the MAGA Republican wing of politics dies.
Until you're dead.
Politically.
And that is that. Thank you to everybody for coming out and spending so much time with the show. I think it was a good relaunch. I think it went well. I think it went well with a lot of bumps, but the bumps just became, good theater, I guess.
Good job, Dylan. We appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you so much. You guys have a good one. I'm going to be very busy this weekend. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Be careful.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Yep.